All right, happy Sunday, everybody. I hope all is well. Welcome back. So we got another talk today with Kofi Newton. So you've seen a couple videos of him here, and I love talking to this brother. He has a lot of great things going on, and I'm also trying to get another contributor and guest here on the show shortly. I don't know if she will actually come on. Hopefully, but anyway, I hope everybody is doing good. Happy Sunday. I'm feeling nice. I'm feeling very, very nice. Actually, something interesting happened. So, I usually order things online off Amazon, or, if I need groceries or something like that. I live down the street from a grocery store, so I just usually will grab things. But some of you may know or may not know, personally, I recently had a car accident. So I decided, okay, well, do I want to have another automobile, or do I want to wait, or whatever? And I'm looking for a specific car. I'm really into C4 Corvettes, the Corvette enthusiasts out there. So I'm looking for a 96 Corvette, but I'm not in a super rush to purchase, because I'm also floating with potentially purchasing my first international property. And so because of that, I don't know if I want the baggage, so to speak. But anyway, lots of thoughts. But the point is, I'm waiting probably at least a few months before I make the purchase, or decide to continue or whatever. So I really wanted to jump into not having a car, and I was like, okay, well, how can I make this the easiest transition? Because I have to admit, although I've lived other places where I didn't have a vehicle, like for example, when I lived in China, I never owned a car in China. Everything was, taxis, subways, sometimes buses, and that was it. But it's very easy to travel there because the public transit is so great. You don't need a car. Versus in the States, especially depending on where you are, like if you're out in rural places, you definitely need a car. But with Uber, things are a bit different. Now, Uber is on the more expensive side compared to, I'm comparing them to Chinese rates. But Uber here in the States is quite expensive. Depending on where you're going, you can waste lots of money on frivolous trips. So to eliminate that or mitigate that risk, what I decided to do was, obviously grocery shop online, and with COVID-19, the offerings online are like so bountiful. Companies are doing really, really great things. Companies are doing really, really great things as far as offering people items. So at first, I was using a few different apps, but they were a bit expensive. And then I decided to use Walmart.com. And so I put my first Walmart grocery like delivery in, I think last night, really, or maybe I guess technically this morning. So it should be here tomorrow. I'm super excited about getting that, and mainly because I like to buy things like water and like gallons of water. Like I use gallons, so I like to buy gallons of water. And not having a car, it's harder to do that, right? Like, of course, if you Uber, you can always put things into the Uber, but I just don't like carrying it. If I can get someone to carry it up the steps and all that kind of stuff, fine. So hopefully they do that. I'm hoping they don't call me tomorrow and they're like, "Hey, we're downstairs. Your groceries are here." That's gonna suck. But I actually purchased what I really like that they had is seed. Some fruits come seedless, and I like seeded fruit. And so they had seeded watermelons, which was great. So I was like, okay, I hate to see a seedless watermelon. I prefer the seeds. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, so Kofi should be on here in a sec, and we'll jump in. We have some really interesting topics, as you guys saw. We're going to be talking about um, Judge and Coney Barrett, as well as Ice Cube's Platinum Plan. We also are going to talk about some exercise equipment that I'm bringing to market, and I'm super excited about. And I'm a little nervous about it, but everyone's always nervous about like new product introductions. But I have to jump off and make things work. I'm also going to talk about Google Ads, because I usually do a lot of advertising on Facebook, but I was like, okay, well, if I'm spending money on Facebook, I might as well try, other platforms. I'm trying to once again thrust myself into doing these business functions that I wouldn't normally do. So it's nice. it's nice. I've worked with many marketing campaigns, but not necessarily responsible for the marketing, if that makes sense. I was providing data or something like that. So it's really interesting to see this whole thing come full circle where I'm now leaning on what I learned from watching people who specialize in marketing, what I see them do with the products I've brought to market in the past, like at work. And so, just going through all these keywords, worrying about people clicking on things and me getting charged versus not converting them and all that kind of jazz. So yeah, it's a trip. But we're going to talk a little bit about that and also prefab houses. And you should see that on the site on ultrasupplychain.com. Articles for prefab houses also coming soon for all of the people who are interested in that type of real estate business. My birds are in the cage today. They're not flying all around, which is nice. I think they got enough exercise today. Plus, like clean the cage out and probably got on their nerves a little bit today. So they're in the cage like chilling. They're big chilling. Let me actually close it. Although I don't mind if they come out. I don't mind. So yeah. So remember, guys, go to ultrasupplychain.com. Make sure you guys sign up online. Sign up online, join as a member, and email us if you have any suggestions or if you have any questions about any of the projects you're working on. A customer service rep, whether it's me responding to them or someone else that's working on your project or your consultant, they will contact you. But make sure you guys are signing up because it makes it easier for me to send you like purchasing opportunities or joint venture opportunities, and also things that we may just want to give you information about. And remember, guys, connect on the site with each other as well. It works. I use Wix for this particular consulting company. So the new e-commerce sites on Wix, they have this member section if you sign up, I guess, for like this type of business, a member section, and people can follow each other. So it's kind of like its own social media thing. I don't think people will actually use it because people would just prefer to probably connect on another social media app, but it's still nice. It's still nice, especially as people began to go abroad, whether it be to the Gambia or Kenya or, whether you're going to Africa, China, or wherever you're going. Sometimes having familiar sites can bring a lot of peace, if that makes sense. So, you guys will definitely be able to connect. So yeah, make sure you do that. And I'm interested to see what the kinds of things people come up with if they do decide to utilize that social media feature in the member section on ultrasupplychain.com. I'm interested to see the kinds of things people began to post. So yeah, so thank you guys for all the emails, and I really appreciate all the love. Make sure if you're new here, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this video. And yeah, the weather today started out really nice. Like it was really nice today. I sort of wish that I would have gone out and did something because it was beautiful. But now it's a little cloudy, but still nice out. Not too bad. Not too bad. But you guys, I'm gonna go fix something to drink, and we'll wait for Kofi. Hopefully, if he comes on, he doesn't click off. He's like, "Where is he?" All right, one sec. Oh, hello. We have a guest backstage right now. I went to go get a drink and I came back to a nice, beautiful surprise. So the person we have on now is someone I know very well and also is a contributor here. And some of the work you guys, as it comes in, it probably will also be sent, to this professional. She has a consulting company that offers a broad range of services. And we actually met in China, so we'll have to maybe go onto my personal page and share some of those crazy, funny stories as well. But let me bring her into the chat and we will get started. Hello.
Hey, hon.
How are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So tell us a little bit, or I've already told the people that I know you. So we know each other personally. I'm so happy that we decided to do this. And actually, when I launched ultrasupplychain.com, one of the first people I thought about was the Tiffany B. Okay, Tiffany, tell them a little bit about what you're working on. And yeah.
So, right now, I have my consulting company, and I have three pillars. We have business, we have education, and we have travel. So,
Hmm.
our business aspect, different services we offer. Maybe you need editing services. Maybe you need help with your website content or your brand identity and things of that nature, or you need with HR
Right.
tasks. So we offer those kinds of tasks. And as far as education, any kind of cultural development you need or training you need, and travel, of course, because who doesn't love a good change of scenery?
Right, right. Okay, tell us a little bit about your background.
So I'm from Georgia originally, um, born and raised, studied here, then decided to go study in California, which then took me to China, and that's how we met. But
Right, right.
yeah, it's just been a great experience just exploring
Uh-huh.
and just having the courage to get out of your comfort zone.
Hmm.
Because, when I was in undergrad, one of the opportunities I had the opportunity to speak with a panel of graduate admissions.
Hmm.
And some of the things that they look for in candidates were people who were outgoing, people who were not afraid to venture out, and just someone with a diverse background. And I really prided myself on that because of all of the different experiences I've had, my upbringing. So it's just been a great experience. I like to pour back into others because a lot of people gave me some good gems along the way. Yeah.
Okay. And so what did you study when you were in undergrad?
So in undergrad, I studied biology.
Okay.
Grad
Yeah,
school.
and I love this. I asked her that because I always I love people who study science. So I like the way she sort of set up her education, if that makes sense. When she makes the services she offers very dynamic.
So I studied biology, and then in grad school, I studied international education and international business. So I just tied it all together to offer the services that I have now. Yeah.
All right. And so we were talking earlier. I like personally, we were talking, of course, I mean, you were there. But the people don't know, we were talking earlier about marketing
Hmm.
because now with me trying to scale this consulting company, you're doing the same thing. We're both now thrusted into the field of marketing almost. And so I was telling Tiff about, I call her Tiff, but you guys call her Tiffany. But so I was talking to Tiffany earlier and I was telling her that I began to play around with um cost per click ads on Google, or Google ads. And I was telling her how it's been really interesting because I mean, you can, getting people to the site is half the battle, right? Like,
Right.
it's funny. We think about, oh, well, I need to make sure all of these things are put together so that people are going to the site and everything else. Like, I can do all of that and I can get you traffic. I can get me traffic. I can get you traffic, But converting the person, that's the part that I'm on now. and just working through that as a really a consultant that works in operations, but not usually in the marketing part. But I think the knowledge that I have has made it a bit easier. But just like with anything, starting a new process or taking on like a new job function,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, learning curve takes time. A learning curve takes time. And so you had brought up something earlier about like these cost per click ads or online ads about Instagram. What were you saying about that?
Well, I was just saying that I thought Instagram marketing was a good tool because if you choose to promote a post,
Yeah.
then it'll determine how far your reach could be, and your reach meaning the number of individuals who could potentially see that post.
Uh-huh.
Which is good because at least it gets you in the audience. But it's up to you and your content whether or not you capture that individual to go beyond that. Yeah.
Right, right. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out now. Because I was telling the people earlier, and when you and I talked about this, these ads are expensive for me. And so if I'm getting the traffic there, which is great, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to have something on there to convert these people, even if it's just the sign up. So,
Right.
because at this point, people aren't necessarily signing up when they land on the page, but if they come from other things like, videos or interviews that I do, then they're more likely to sign up. Like after I do an interview for days, I'm getting constant signups, but, or, sales inquiries and stuff like that. Versus if I do a cost per click ad, which is more expensive, people are going there, but nothing's keeping them there. Or they're not prompted to put their information in. I mean, I have things on the site. Like, as soon as you get there, I rearranged the site yesterday or the day before so that there was a sign up sheet immediately once you get on the site. And I tried to build like a pop up, but I couldn't figure it out. Like I had to copy and paste some code, which isn't complicated at all. But I think my Google search was bad or something. I had the wrong code. I had one code and I needed another code, and I was just like, okay, well, whatever. But the way I rearranged it, once you get on the site, it asks you for your information. So
Mm-hmm.
I got to figure out, I guess, how to just get people to use it. But for now, I think I'm gonna try to focus more on the video. So,
Mm-hmm. I think start there, and then go from there.
and I'm gonna share this link so people. I'm gonna share it to my Facebook so people know we're live. And Kofi's actually coming on in a second too, Tiffany. And you gotta stick around. You gotta stick around. At least for a little while. At least for a
Mm-hmm.
little. So hold on. We may hear some audio when I open this next video, but I'll pop.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna share this really, really quickly. And would you like me to tag you in it?
Sure. It's okay.
So Tiffany, okay, so tell us, you recently moved back to the United States, right? Just like me, I recently moved back to the United States too. How was your experience coming back to the States? Oh, I think your mic is muted. Hey Tiffany, can you hear me? Your mic is muted.
Okay, I wanted to come out and enjoy this breeze, but so what was your question again?
I wanted to know, since you recently moved back to the United States, not only from another country but also from China, how was it reintegrating back into the United States?
I would say it was very challenging, just
Uh-huh.
because it was so abrupt. But
Right.
one thing I will say is adaptability was something you had to hone living in China just
Uh-huh.
because things change so much. They change so much so frequently, and you just have to kind of go with the flow and get in there so you can continue to do well. And so I would say coming back, it was very different. I realized things were very different since I lived home before. Um,
The
you know,
connection seems to be breaking up, Tiff. The connection is breaking up a bit.
and a lot of and we just had to weather it like everybody else, just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the connection is good now, but it was just like fuzzy for like everything you just said.
Oh man, what's the last thing you heard?
I heard you say you guys had to just weather it.
Oh yeah, we just had to weather everything just like everyone else because we were all in this together, literally. Like, it's not like this was pre-planned. It's not like there was a step by step book on how to get a pandemic that shut the whole world
Oh, okay,
down.
yeah. So
It's
we missed
no,
that part. We couldn't
it's
hear you. So
no
you're
way
talking
we
about
could.
the pandemic, being there in the pandemic versus being in the States in the pandemic.
Yeah. Okay. So what I said was, um, because I was stateside when um, the airlines in the U.S. made the early decision to stop flights going back to China. It
Uh-huh.
was very abrupt. The change was very abrupt and unanticipated. So it was a
Mm-hmm.
little challenging because you if you're on a schedule, you have commitments, and you're trying to see how you're going to get things in order or how you're going to make good on your obligations and things like that. But this pandemic really just changed everything for everyone, not just me or you, but for people all over the world. So it was it was something that you just had to cope with, knowing that okay, this isn't something that's just affecting you, it's affecting everyone.
Right,
So
right.
you have to be sympathetic, and you can't feel bad because things change so abruptly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay. So look, I'm gonna bring Kofi into the stream.
Mhm.
And so the audience has watched Kofi. I think we have one or two videos up already on this particular channel on YouTube. You know, a really brilliant brother. I'm gonna bring him into the stream now.
Mhm.
Hey Kofi, how are you?
What's up, man?
I'm doing great, doing great.
I just so happy I just made it because you know how these batteries go.
Yeah, so
So
I
this
have
is the
Tiffany
best.
on, and I actually wanted to introduce you to. This is one of the people that I mentioned to you that we're also doing some business together. And so I actually recently met Kofi. I watched him on a video with another YouTuber I watched. The channel is called Search for Truth. And so
Mhm.
he called in and he was talking on the show. And I was like, this guy is on to something. He asked
Mhm.
some very interesting questions. So I said, okay, let me
Yeah.
connect with him.
How you doing, Tiffany?
I'm fine. Nice to meet you.
Hi. Hello, audience, viewers.
Yeah, so Tiffany is a scientist and also educator. And
Wow.
she
Wow.
does a lot of amazing work. And so she owns a consulting company as well. And she was just telling a story about moving back to the States. And we met in China as well.
Oh wow.
And so she moved back to the States during the pandemic. And she was telling everybody that story and how, because we were talking about being entrepreneurs and working on different startups and having to wear different hats because I was talking about this week I got into Google advertising or
Mhm.
Google ads. And so because of that, I was just feeling sort of like a fish out of water because I mean I've worked on lots of marketing campaigns on the supply chain side, like offering data and all that kind of stuff, or giving information on how other people set up, like e-commerce listings and stuff like that. But I've never had to set it up myself. So I got it to where I could drive traffic to the site, of course, but I couldn't. What's the word? The people weren't converting. Like they weren't even signing up. They would go to the site, but there was nothing keeping them there to where they would sign up. So I was like, okay, well, I got to figure that out and, come back and create something that will be engaging enough to where if I pay for this, advertising platform, that they would at least sign up. I'm sorry, say
Um,
that again, Kofi. Say that again.
it almost feels like if these sites aren't attached to Instagram and Facebook or Twitter, no one has the attention span to stay on them. And I'm getting like when I go to people's like websites, there is the sites are always on their like bios. And
Uh-huh.
LinkedIn is another major platform right now who is transitioning to like a Instagram, Facebook style of
Right,
you
right.
know, marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And if your site doesn't easily connect to these other platforms, people are gonna be like, you know what, I'll come back to the site later and I'll sign up later. And but meanwhile, I'm just gonna go on Instagram and look at some videos.
Right, right. And so I was
So
telling Tiffany the same thing about the video. Like if I do a video on, somebody else's platform or even on this platform,
mhm.
hold on, I'm gonna mute your mic. Or even if I do it on this platform, I get more traffic, and also more signups. People are converted a bit more from the videos. But I mean, I'm the same way as a consumer. Like, I mean, I spend a ton of time watching videos, right? So, yeah, I don't. For now, I don't know if I will continue with the Google Ads unless I have some type of video attached to it. But even then, if I'm going to do that, I'll probably just do like a YouTube advertisement, and that has a really good, at least click rate, and I'm pretty sure it's probably cheaper. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. What do you think?
Well, I feel like Zoom and StreamYard and YouTube Live they're the new work platforms,
For sure.
and
Sure.
people have outsourced their jobs to remote work. And if your face isn't being seen, you are out of the stream. That's what it seems like was going on right now.
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
it's important for like new faces like us to get very familiar and having discussions online and even pitching ourselves on these accelerators so we could reach out to more and more people so they could take us and what we want to change about the World Series.
I had to change my lighting because you and Tiffany are put to shame. But now I got I gotta
Is that natural light you're in, Tiffany?
I'm in natural light.
Where are you at with
I'm in Atlanta right now, actually.
Atlanta? Wow, it is 5:25, so that's cool. My aunt lives in Stone Mountain.
Okay. Where are you located?
I'm located in Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn. Nice.
Do you know Claire Summers of
N-
Fashion Bomb Dilly?
No, I'm not familiar.
And that's why you're a scientist. And that's why you're not. She's like she's a fashion journalist. So unless you're coming
Don't
out
judge
with like some
me.
scientific clothing,
Don't judge me, okay?
you know, maybe you
I
could.
clean up well. I look nice. When
Yeah,
I
yeah.
clean
Yes,
up.
Okay.
Tiffany wants to look good. Tiffany is multifaceted because here's the thing. She's not only fine, like I'm talking about like a published science, an educator.
Hmm.
She also speaks Chinese. Um, and she sings. Like we
Oh
played.
wow,
I don't know. I don't know. I think I told you.
we're at a
Tiffany
studio
sings
right
as well.
now. Actually, we're at a We got a music studio.
Oh
That's
wow!
my friend
Super
Sean.
dope. You have to invite me.
He's a recording artist, and
Yeah, she's a wonderful singer,
you want to
and
join
she
us?
can
You could.
rap. She can rap. Look,
Don't
I
stop.
probably shouldn't be saying all of this.
Multifaceted.
Yeah, very multifaceted. We've actually played together a few times. So I'm a musician too. I play
Oh
flute.
yeah! Wow.
Yeah, I
I
play
didn't
the
know
flute, the piccolo, and the oboe, but I mainly play flute. And Tiffany invited me to. She created a band. You know, she has bands that she creates for various events. And so she was like, "Hey, let's do something with you on the flute, and I'll sing." And we played quite a few times, I think. And so
Wow.
she's played all over Shanghai, like
In some other
We
cities.
we
And
need a soundtrack to this supply chain madness.
we do.
We need when me and Sean we know each other through like the open mic scene.
uh,
So pretty much you know I've been on stage with him and he's a super talented lyricist. And on a political stage, he's very vocal about it, about you know the New York culture, our
mhm,
history stemming from the Caribbean, from Central and South America to America, and he's very vocal about it in his music. And if you ever was a good music fan, Kanye West, Kid Cudi,
mhm.
um,
I can see
Lupe
that. He
Fiasco,
gives me Kid Cudi vibes from like
Common,
looking at him.
you could get you will really appreciate his music and the genuineness and also the nuances to it. You know, it's really very laid back, not egotistical, but raw.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
that's
I
awesome.
brought him
I
on
was
to
here.
to add to the culture
That's
Nice.
what's up. Yeah,
that we're trying
hopefully
to
we can.
transfer over to Africa.
Right. And so, are you a musician as well, Kofi?
I started playing the piano. We had a half baby grand when I in my house growing up,
Uh-huh.
and when my parents divorced, I just started rapping, stealing Nas lyrics, and showing people in Harlem that I could rap. And then when I got to Lehman High School, we just discovered we went to the same high school,
Yeah.
just two years a year apart, and I learned how to read music there.
Okay. Okay.
And I just became a beat maker, a songwriter ever since.
All right.
Nice.
That's what's up. Well, hopefully we can hear some stuff now that we all know that we're also musically inclined.
That's
That is
that's
very
that's
interesting.
that's weird. That's crazy. I
Yes.
thought I was out of your league. I was like, wow, you're a scientist? Man, I gotta go.
Don't be
she
intimidated.
she is
I'm
she's
very
all of those things. She's all of those things.
I'm
Um,
definitely into science too. I study a lot of black scientists, one of which Washington Carver,
George Washington Carver.
George Washington Carver. Yes,
Yeah, we love George Washington Carver.
yes.
yeah, grateful for him. I love peanut butter.
Right.
Well, I want to say something crazy, but it might be too crazy. I gotta go back and write it, and then bring it back.
Yeah, okay, so tell us, Kofi always has the, interesting things to talk about. And, we come and we kind of philosophize about different things. So what's been on your mind? I sent you some topics as well, but I know you always have some things.
I was like, who is this woman?
Oh,
And
okay. Amy Cohen Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah, I think that's
Maybe
her name. Let me make sure I'm spelling her name even correct. Oh, yeah,
maybe
that's correct. So, all right. Amy Conan Barrett is the Supreme Court nominee that the Republican Party picked after Ruth
her
Bader
name sounds like she's a judge.
Ginsburg.
Coney.
Yes, Judge Barrett, Judge Amy Cohen,
Okay.
Coney Barrett.
Is
I don't
she
want to call her Cohen Barrett, but it's Coney
is she an African woman or a black or say a
Barrett.
white woman?
She is not an African woman. I mean, I don't think she identifies as an African woman. I doubt it. She's not black in pigment, like her skin color is not black. But interestingly enough, she did adopt two children, I think, from Haiti, which is a
Mm.
interesting. Um, Now I watched her hearing because what I had heard about her versus what I had heard about her was kind of crazy. It was almost like they were saying, I don't know if you watched the TV show The Handmaid's Tale. No,
Yeah, I saw the TV show. Yes.
right. So with The Handmaid's Tale, it like is super puritanical, kind of throwing us back into like what modern puritanical Christian America would be like, even down to like the oppressive aspects of puritanical like Christianity in early America and all that kind of stuff, as if like these people, take over the United States and it's like a civil war and all that. Anyway, they were kind of saying like this lady is so conservative that she will usher that in. Like they were mainly afraid that she would strike down. I can't remember if it's not the individual mandate, but anyway, the part of the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, strike down that part, which would protect people with pre-existing conditions, but also Roe versus Wade, which has to do with abortion rights, and women's rights to choose to terminate a pregnancy or not. That she would be opposed to that because of her Catholic approach or her Catholic views and the way she uses that possibly to influence the way she judges. That's what the concern was. And so I was like, okay, I want to see what's going on, right? I want to see what's going on just because with Donald Trump being in a position to pick so many judges, it's just really, really interesting. So I just wanted to see if this lady, what they would ask her, how she would answer the questions and all of that kind of stuff. And so to answer your question, no, she's not African, but she does have two Black children. And interestingly, someone asked her, one of the, senators asked her during the hearing that, they asked her if she supports white supremacists. And she answered the question in a no very quickly, which I mean, I don't want to say I was moved by it, but I was like, it was something deeper there that she was trying to express with this guy answering that question. But I found a bit of peace in it just because usually when we see these figures that are looked at or presented as, on like the religious right, and then we put them with, their whiteness, which exists. And then we say, okay, well, if these people are conservative and all of this stuff, she grew up in the South, but she practices in the North, and she was like a law professor at Notre Dame, but she always was known as being conservative. I was like, okay, well, let's see. So, I mean, she's a bit of a wild card in a sense, but I don't know if she's racist, but I'm sure she's still quite ignorant on things. And I mean, when it comes to the Affordable Care Act and Roe versus Wade, with Roe versus Wade, I mean, I personally, I think women should be able to choose. And with the covering people with pre-existing conditions, I mean, I think that should just be a given. Like, you can't only sell insurance to healthy people, and then when they finally need something, you like, no, we're not gonna cover it. Like, what's the point, So, I mean, I was kind of satisfied with her. She wasn't as scary as I thought she was going to be, but I don't think I would still vote for her if I was a senator and I had to vote to confirm her. I don't know if I would vote for her, but I can say this: they think she's going to get through. As long as she is cool with the Roe v. Wade thing, which that's unseen or we don't know, I'm pretty much cool with her. But Tiffany, as the woman on this panel, how do you feel about her in this Roe v. Wade situation?
I hate to do this, but I actually have to go.
No!
It couldn't be worse. But
look, okay. How long? Well, will you be gone, or will you be able to get back on a bit later?
Maybe a bit later if you guys are gonna be on still.
Okay, possible. And look, we have to get your take on this. So if you could give us 10 seconds, what would it be? Or 20 seconds? Just something short and hot.
My phone is about to shut off.
Okay. Peace.
Bye. I'm literally in the red. I gotta go. Okay. Bye.
Battery is our cutoff, and these things are real.
I know, that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah, but it's okay. She'll be back.
What do you think? Did you get a chance? Well, you say you don't know her, but like, have you heard anything about this at all?
Her name definitely sounds familiar, but you would think since she has two Haitian children, she would want to better their lives in the future. And you can see all these things that are happening right now with Black Lives Matter,
Yeah.
and even in Nigeria with SARS. You would think she would want to implement policies that would better their lives. So that's a start. And white women tend to fancy black men in black society
Yeah.
because it's just their nature, nurturing nature as women,
Hmm.
to then look at us as charity cases
Hmm.
and possibly give us something that white society has been holding back for us for centuries. So it's, at the end of the day, it's all about legacy, and it's about who you want to be remembered as. You know, do you want to be on the right side of history, or do you want to be on the right side of history? Now, hopefully, she has the common sense to want to be on the right side of history and secure a beneficial future for the children, her children.
Yeah.
So I believe that she's an ally. Now, on the other hand, she could just adopt the kids to then seem like, hey, she's a part of the what, she's the DNC. She's pro DNC. Is that what it is? She's Democratic.
No, she's a Republican.
Oh,
But
she's a
she's
conservative. Okay, well, look, you know, she's
I know,
conservative.
right? Right. So you thought from what I told you, was probably Democrat, right? But she's
Yeah. So to me, she's going to protect the values of people that also look like her.
uh-huh.
She has no choice. She's surrounded by them. They'll mess around and get kidnapped,
Yeah.
because this is what was going on in Michigan with one of the. I'm not sure whether she's a senator, whether she's a
Oh, the
governor.
governor, yes. This like I don't
Yeah,
know if we talked about that. Yeah, the lady, the governor of Michigan, I can't remember her name.
yeah.
Um Gwen, I think I can't remember her name, but anyway, she's the governor of Michigan. Yeah, the
When
white
you're,
say that again?
I was gonna say, when you're in these red states, you have to be very careful, because what you do would have life threatening consequences.
Hmm.
Unfortunately,
But is the governor of Michigan, is she a conservative or a Democrat? I think she's a Democrat, right?
yeah, she's pro Dems, and that's why. And you know, Michigan, you know, I believe Malcolm X and his family lived in a part of Michigan. They're from they're not from Flint, but they're from a town in Michigan, and they were being threatened by the KKK.
Hmm.
You know, so that's a red state, and for her to then be pro Dems and anti Trump, and have these militias go after her. These are acts of war.
Right, right.
We have to take these things serious, and we have to squash them, because I believe during the Civil War, when the Union soldiers entered it, they went as far as Gettysburg, and they started to get crushed. But then, as soon as they let the black soldiers into the war, then the tide started to turn, and then the war started to favor the Union. You know, as it should. You know, if you're fighting for freedom versus being the slave master, I believe you're just gonna fight harder at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's wild. It's kind of like that threw me for a loop too. Lady, basically almost getting kidnapped, but luckily the plan was spoiled before they figured out what was going on. Or it was spoiled before, someone knew that. Wait on, what did you say?
Me too.
What did you say?
Oh no, I was doing some mute talk.
Oh, I was saying, good thing I guess the authorities figured out what was going on before she was kidnapped, because that would have only escalated the situation. But I say that to say, we've known for years now. I'm sorry, my birds are acting up again today, Kofi. Hold on, let me put that.
Okay. What's up, folks? How are you on this Sunday afternoon in America, um, Earth, wherever you are? Hope you're having a blessed day, and I hope you're on the streams having these discussions and participating in life and on these live streams and these Zooms, because during these times, we're not in the office as much, and we need to be on the streams conversing our ideals.
Yeah, so that would have only escalated if she was actually kidnapped. But we've known for years that like white domestic terrorists have been a huge security threat, national security threat. And so it's so crazy that it took like, this white woman in government to almost get kidnapped in the United States for people to finally be like, okay, maybe, we're not safe from these people either. So hopefully I'm like you. Hopefully something moves forward. I think that probably scared a lot of people, especially if they're already in government. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully it gets people to see that this thing is serious, as far as countering this domestic terrorism that exists in the United States.
Yeah, we I feel like when you look at white people on television, you get the soft version of them,
Uh-huh.
and you might get the super, you know, redneck version of them. But there's nothing like reality, and you just have to look back at history, and you have to look at what's taking place in these other countries. Now, you have to look at the demographic who's in Iraq, who's in Afghanistan, who's in West Africa, who's in Somalia, who's in these like wars that determines the political statuses of these nations in the East.
Mhm.
It's white, it's white red states. These are the people who are over there. So don't you think for a second that they won't come back here and regulate shit? You know, these people, they're human beings. They feel like their identity is under attack. They feel like their birth rates are dropping, and they feel like they're not getting as much attention as us who are in the entertainment elite. And with us having a black president, Obama, this kind of this kind of brought things to the light. We've under the Obama administration, you witnessed the most killings of black people, and I would say about 6 years ago, way before President Trump got into office during the Obama administration, I really felt a sense that look, we need to think about an end game for America. You know, not all of us are so quick to leave the country because unfortunately this is our home. But we also need to consider having a base somewhere international that's out of this country, just in case shit hit the fan. And I believe we've been doing that for throughout the centuries. From Paul Coffey, the abolitionist, using his sailboat, his shipping business, to transfer the first few British black soldiers from Nova Scotia onto to establish Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
And with the American colonization, um, the ACS, Colonial Society, they've helped fund the establishment of Liberia, along with other black prominent business owners, one of which became one of the first presidents of Liberia. Um, we need to take our wealth and influence and celebrity and make it work in our favor. And as you see, people like Kanye West, he's a billionaire, people like Diddy, and the Jay-Z's of the world, the Beyoncé's of the world, and the Kaepernicks of the world, we need to have a strong international standing because we aren't the minority internationally. They are. And I believe if they want to survive, they have to treat us good. They have to treat us right. By all means, you have the right to maintain your identity in your society. But the way you have been practicing that have been very detrimental to the global world. And it even has a lot of effects on them. So I urge I urge my white people to come to some type of understanding without this sudden irrational sense of like racism and blatant violence, because it's not making you guys look any more better than you portray yourselves.
I mean, I agree. There's definitely a lot of progress that could that just hasn't been made. There's no excuse, and I mean, like you said, I think people are looking at that and saying, "Hey, why would we expect different, right? Or why would we expect things to move faster if you're the one making the decision and you're the one who's been making the decision? So why are we still here, right?" People are kind of like, we see progress made in so many other aspects of society, but why is it when it's time for people to speak on progress specifically for Black people, no one has anything to say? Now, people have critiques. People have lots of critiques, for the Black community. Oh, well, people should do this or they shouldn't do this. Um, but no one is putting forth policy. So hopefully that will change. Now, I do think, I'm not, well, do I think this? The support that I saw for George Floyd, I think that was interesting, but, was that like a fad, like one of those moments where people were just moved? And then it all dies down and goes away, because that's not the first time white people have supported, if that makes sense. I won't even say white people, but non-Black people have supported something that affects Black people specifically, right? But going back to this not the Amy situation, but the governor getting kidnapped. I can't think her name is Gretchen. I can't remember, but the governor who was about to get kidnapped. Going back to her and the military thing. When you said there are people that are that are ready to regulate, did you mean that, like, if they're given the orders to go in and, you know, maintain, or what's the word? I don't know, police or whatever, the society here in the United States, that they will do that? Is that what you meant, or did you mean that they've infiltrated the military and they have this training, then they got to come back and, you know, um, carry out this white supremacist agenda, or this? Because at this point, I mean, it's white supremacy, but it's also anti-Blackness on other levels with people who may not be white or who may also be affected by white supremacy. But the anti-Black agenda, is that what you mean, or do you mean them being sent out on a job to, so quote unquote, keep order?
I believe that they already, and the FBI said they infiltrated many police. Uh, they infiltrated the police around the United States.
Mhm.
Our police, our local police departments, many white supremacists have already infiltrated it. And the only thing that they haven't infiltrated as much now is the media. And what it seems like there's some infighting right now going on between white America,
Mhm.
where Trump is not a good representative because he's telling the truth about who he is and who the majority of Americans are, what white Americans are, and that they feel like they're under attack. And I believe that there's another elite that wants to suppress that because they're just trying to continue on with their with their money making and global control. Now, Trump is willing to sacrifice, I believe, global control for just the white lives in America. But what the Dems are putting out on a global scale, they have a great influence. Whenever when we were in Iraq, it was just like, oh, everyone just shits on Muslims, and that was okay by the media, for both liberals and conservatives. That was just okay to just shit on Muslims. Let's just shit on Africa right now. That was okay. Sending like subliminal messages. Trump messes it up when he tells the blatant truth, having this huge platform that he has now, going from celebrity apprentice shows to being the president of the United States and saying what white America truly feels. Now that can have a total flip on the politics of America, because what nations would do is they would be pro-China and cut the United States out of most of these trade deals that's about to take place in the future as far as globalization goes. Now, China and Russia could easily use Trump and say, "Hey, look who they are. These look at the United Kingdom. They're pro-Trump. Are these the people you want to work with, or do you want to work with us in the East? We never called y'all niggas, like Muhammad Ali said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like a Cold War."
Yeah.
Whatever you want to say.
Oh, I'm just sitting in,
Okay.
taking in the knowledge.
How you doing, brother?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm doing good. I'm just learning what I can.
I feel that. Yeah. So, how do I feel? I think it's complex. I think the United States has become very complicated because as I live in Florida, and I also have lived in Las Vegas before, Nevada, and I like to see how non-white groups also behave, I guess, when it comes to politics and whatnot. And so there's this, everyone's obsessed with, well, not obsessed, but people are really looking at the, Latino vote a lot and trying to say, okay, well, and this is why I find that interesting. Why when people are looking at the, Latino vote, because there are many instances where we're seeing like rallies and things in majority Hispanic places or majority Latinx places. And that's very different from the narrative that's usually put out by the liberal media or, the right, the left or whatever, as far as who the conservative is or who the Republican is, right? But I always like to juxtapose that to what we see in business. These same Latinx voters, or whether they're Asian voters or even sometimes Black voters, are sometimes the same people who are keeping Black people out of their businesses, keeping Black people from getting contracts with their businesses, etc. And under the same guise, under the same anti-Blackness that exists in white supremacy, but because I think it's easier for them to sort of, the illusion that they can access this whiteness. Because if you notice this pattern of conservatism amongst not only people of color, but Latinx citizens in particular, the conservatism usually exists when it's a majority Latinx population. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something that we should look into. Is like, okay, well, why is it when these people have their own communities, they imitate whiteness as far as the treatment that is given to Blacks? You know what I'm saying? And then they also adopt the same political structure that's usually quote unquote conservative. as well. But on the opposite end of that, this same community is in a sense also missing from that identity, because the left never paints the conservative as, Hispanic, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So Hispanic people, or Latinx people, have a very interesting dynamic with whiteness that I feel like we're not honest about in this country, as far as Hispanic or Latinx people who feel like they can attain whiteness, and the way that manifests in the way they do business, as well as the way that they do politics in the United States.
Well, in the Latino world, it's just another language. They speak Spanish, we speak English, and there's forms of they're going through their own forms of racism and white supremacy within the Latino culture. And who who has the biggest voice in the Latino culture? I would say white Latinos. For example, when they come to America, where it says, who what group do you belong to? I think there's Latinx now, but before, when it was like white, black, Asian, Pacific Island, it was like, hey, we could pass for white. Yeah, just
Right.
how very very fair skinned black people, how when they used to pass for white, they would jump over into the white society and dibble dabble for you know beneficial purposes,
Mm-hmm.
which is to gain money, and they're no different. Now, I would say when blacks started coming out of the South into these northern cities, then they had to brush shoulders and bump shoulders with Italians, Jews, and Irish people, and as well as some Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and I think I got the demographics right. They would bump heads, and the Southerners who were coming out of the Jim Crow and coming out of slavery, the slavery South, were giving them competition that they never had before, because they were never like enslaved unless they were black or indentured servants,
Mm-hmm.
and this created imbalance for them, because not only did they have to compete with these new blacks who migrated to the north, but then their identities was also attacked too, because when we would come up in numbers, then there was a chance that they were mixed into our culture, because our culture also stemmed from like having being very talented musicians,
Mm-hmm.
and so like they gravitate to the bebop music, the rock and roll music. So we were definitely, it was like double jeopardy on that ass.
Yeah.
Now that the black people who stemmed from this migration that happened back in the '60s are now they're coming up. They're coming up against competition from new immigrants,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're from Africa, whether they're from the Caribbean, whether they're from Europe, whether they're from South and Central America. Now that they're coming from these countries who had to go through like hell, because they're like been infiltrated by the United States military complex, and their nations have been turned into banana republics. Their nations have been turned into oil um, extraction. I'm trying to think of a word for like oil. Oil.
Petroleum.
Petroleum, BP. Um, they just being their countries are like the Arab world. They're just used for their like oil,
Yeah. Yeah.
and hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of people fall casualty to the to war over oil.
Uh-huh.
And they come here and say like, look, we can't go back. Versus Black Americans and white Americans who've been in the comfort of being a part of this first world country.
Yeah.
Well, now the people who've been here are getting their ass kicked by all the immigrants, and it's just a natural cycle that's occurring. You're better
Yeah,
off
I don't.
immigrating somewhere.
Yeah, but I don't think that's an excuse to be anti-black. And what I
Oh no,
mean by
no,
that
no,
is, what
no!
I mean by that
It's
is,
definitely not an
if you look
excuse.
at,
But
if
I believe that's what's happening.
yeah,
It's
wait.
sad, but
So you mean you think that the immigrants are just more qualified? It's not that they're anti-black.
I believe they're more. I believe they're more desperate to get a seat at the table in the
Yeah.
United States because they're the first generation, and
Hmm.
if they don't do that, then they will wind up going back, which they don't want to do, or they just wind up struggling worse than they did back when they had their own lands in the countries.
Hmm.
Because look, if you don't make money, you will starve in the streets. There's a lot of there's a lot of jobs that white Americans and Black Americans won't do because they've done these jobs in the past and they're just past that point.
Hmm.
We're more so trying to gain that CEO spot. We're trying to be partners. We're more so trying to be the man. That 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 harms us because if we're not willing to do the work of the carpenter, if we're not willing to do the work of the construction worker or the farmer,
Hmm.
then this sort of leaves us depending on education facilities and financial institutions that seem to be collapsing because of COVID.
Yeah.
Now it just makes sense to just own, and the more land and property that you own, the the more likely you are to survive. If you don't own, the best jobs are around construction and agriculture, and you're then entering economies where that evolve around the the new emerging economies. Now, as far as Black Americans goes, as far as white America goes, I believe both both sides feel like they're they're under attack and they're being outsourced and they're being phased out. For example, I feel like if I stay here, you know, I'm going to be phased out because there's just a lot of things that I won't do, that I won't stand for any longer in order to gain my seat at the table because I don't even want a seat at the table anymore. I'm the type to go back to where the immigrants are coming from,
Yeah.
you know. And I believe they're coming to these realizations too. Like, hey, now that we gained this capital and gained the know-how for ourselves, let's go back and just build up our own countries.
Mhm. Right. I mean, I look at it different. Like, I don't agree that. I actually don't agree that it's jobs that Americans simply won't do. I think that is something that, I've heard that many times, but I think it's a recruitment issue. I think it's a recruitment issue in the sense that corporations, like let's say someone owns a farm, I think it's usually cheaper for them to employ, these particular laborers compared to hiring, an American and everything that comes along with that. So I think that's what it is, and I think these operation sites understand that, hey, I mean, if I can, save 30% on labor, why not? So from there, they use this desperate situation that people are in and they recruit based on that. And so I don't think it's that people won't do the jobs. I think these companies aren't hiring and recruiting people who need these jobs because, I mean, Black tradesmen are still more likely to be unemployed. And I know from the little bit of research I've done, just listening to videos and talking to people who bring up this point, if you go to like one of those labor finding companies that a lot of trades people utilize to find like gigs or whatever if they don't have like a daily gig or something, there are constant complaints of how there's this discrepancy between the work that's given to Spanish speaking immigrants in particular, but also white or non-black Spanish speaking immigrants, and then going from there. So I think it's a recruitment issue. I think people would do these jobs, but I think people are still demanding the same things. And this is what happens because think about it. A lot of immigrant children or children of immigrants, they tell you the stories of how their parents did this and did that. But oftentimes these children are also thrusted back into poverty, for whatever reason, because they now have the same pressures that, most Americans have, right? So I think it's a recruitment issue rather and who they're targeting because of who they want to hire because of the cost and what they could save. And I think that's sort of what happens. Now, I think it's a little sick in the situations where that is the case. I think it's sick for some immigrants to look at that and say, hey, well, we had this job because, you guys didn't want it. And I think it's often more complex with that than that. Like the chicken farm in Mississippi. Like, did you hear that story? There was a chicken farm in Mississippi that was raided by ICE, I think last year, or maybe, yeah, last year. And it was raided by ICE, and it was like, hey, it was a bunch of so-called illegal workers working there or whatever. Now, this is in the middle of Mississippi in the Delta. How did all these people get to Mississippi? That's a recruitment thing. That took effort. You know what I mean? And so I think people would definitely do those jobs. So I disagree with that.
I also agree with what you're saying too. I definitely agree with what you're saying. If you could see someone with a Black American name if you could see their resume, you might just pass them up over something that's less American. And is this wrong? Yes. Do we have any control of that? No. Now you'll see for your Black Southerner whose lineage is coming from the South, or your Black Caribbean whose family came here, who've been migrating here from say the 30s, the 40s, and well even before that 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s.
Mm-hmm.
They're feeling the brunt of it all because their populations were affected by the crack epidemic. So if it's not one thing, if it's not Jim Crow, then it's another, and then it's a crack epidemic that we're facing. Now, if you most likely, even if you were an immigrant during the crack epidemic, you probably were involved in that. Now, if you weren't involved in that, and your family became prominent, prominent citizens, meaning just all you have to do is just own your own property. Really, yeah. That's really what it is. That's all you need. Then you're more likely to and if you were in the suburbs versus in an urban city, you more likely missed out on that and it was spared. Now their children could come into the cities and they could be a part of entities, tech industries that they kept out of public schools in the inner city. I believe Microsoft and Apple popped off in the late 70s, in the 80s.
Right.
Why in 2003, when I was going to high school, why were they teaching us things like Excel and like spreadsheets? When those things, like not to say these things aren't important, but these things were so boring and so easy to do that computer class almost didn't make sense. Why weren't we coding? Why weren't we writing code? We were too busy working on typography and say not even graphic design. We were too busy working on things like typography and painting and in Excel spreadsheets, and we just skipped coding. Now, coding is basics, the basis of programming computers and using computers. Before they came out with keyboards, and before all these apps came out, you had to code these things into existence. And they were doing this way before the 70s. Coding is a part of artificial intelligence and everything computerized. But I didn't discover coding until I saw the social network movie about Mark Zuckerberg and how he created Facebook. And then that's when I started to code. But by that time, not saying that it was too late. I just feel like the children that are coming from these suburb or rural American education, they learn to code in high school, if not high school, elementary school. While in the cities, they took out so many programs. They put in so many like programs to like test us on our in intelligence, and would put us into special ed if we didn't pay attention to their boring curriculums. That I feel like they really just wanted what we had, which was property in the cities,
Yeah.
which would then become these tech cities. Um, and I feel like that's a crime that happened, and I feel like it backfired. Maybe it didn't backfire, but I feel like it backfired when COVID happened, because now you definitely have to. You can't live in the cities no more. You have to go back and build up infrastructure in your rural towns,
Yeah.
you know, and change the minds of these places where we had to flee from 46 years ago. And yes, that's one part of being left out. And that's something that I felt in New York City. Now is everyone coding? No. But the majority of the people that get these apartments, if you're not a part of a corporate entity, or if you're not a part of um, a job that that's like a multi-million dollar company, you and if they're not dominating in the tech world, then you yourself cannot live in these areas, because what happened is gentrification started to happen. And if you're not making these 70K and up salaries, you could barely roommate. I've had people that had 100K on their tax returns, and they had to roommate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen to your McDonald's worker? What do you think is going to happen to your MTA worker? What do you think is going to happen to? I've turned down a lawyer because their
Mhm.
credit wasn't good.
Yeah.
Hey, you're a lawyer. You make way more than me. Why am I the gate holder? But I'm not the gate holder. I'm the face of the gate holder. I'm kind of like a house Negro for the landlords.
Yeah.
And it says something about holding on to the basic things like land. Never sell your property, because it will come in handy, and you will need it, and it would be the foundation and on which you stand. And without that, you will be phased out. You know, and something else I'm starting to see is that when the crack epidemic happened throughout the United States, They were throwing us in jail. We were being thrown in jail for crack cocaine, which is made from cocaine. Now, if you was a cocaine user, you got less years than a person who sold crack. Now, or used crack. Now, if that's not a blatant form of racism, I don't know what it is. That's what happened to. I would say that's what happened to Black America. That's what happened to some of Latin America, who live very close to the Black communities in the northern cities, and it's the worst type of it's the worst type of injustice that we face in our own country. And then you just start to feel like, as a second class citizen, you should be able to come out of jail and get a job. How can you come out of jail and just because you got a record from a pandemic that happened, a drug pandemic that happened, you can't come out and get a job? Now you're forced to you're not forced, but now you're forced to do some crime, and then the media double downs on that, and now we're the face of crime throughout America, which pushes us back even more. So now we're looking at each other as criminals because that's all we see on television. We're looking at ourselves as victims. We're looking at ourselves with a lack of hope because we're also seeing ourselves being killed. Something has to change. There needs to be a big deal of social reform, and I believe that's what Ice Cube is after, because if he doesn't go after that, he will be the only one out of Black America to survive while he sees his people just be phased out and pushed out as if they're illegal aliens. And just to bring up Ice Cube, he's forced to then. It sucks. He just, they tossed him a bone. That's what the Republican Party did. They tossed him a bone that the Democratic Party didn't have the power to, because they're just not in office right now. He just had to go for something that can happen now. And it seems with Biden and Kamala, if Kamala now I feel why it's important to vote, because we should be choosing between Kamala Harris and Trump. No, Kamala Harris isn't perfect. No, she's responsible for putting people in jail. Yes, she took the money, but now would have been the time. Now would have been a time to recover from that and say, look, we're going to fight for some form of reparations for Black America. I believe we are the influencers of the world. Everyone's partying to our music. Everyone's watching us in our sports. Everyone's learning history through us. But even she had she took the stance of, you know what? No, we're not giving you reparations. So then Ice Cube was forced to then not so much partner up with Trump, but work with Trump. Trump is using this as a way to gain the Black vote, and Ice Cube is only using this as a way to gain some resources for Black America, because money talks at the end of the day. And if we're not making money, then we're not going to be able to have any say in America, and our birth rates will drop, and you will see us start to decline.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull up the plan really quickly. Um, let's see if I can do it. All right. All right. So, do you guys see this platinum plan? Can you see that?
your shows. Let's see. Let me turn my camera this way. Maybe I can see something. Is it in the chat?
I was trying to share my screen through this particular app, but I'm trying to see if I'm sharing the right thing or the wrong thing. Let me go back and try it again.
Okay. Let me see.
Okay, I got it now. Let me make this. Okay, finally got it. I'm telling you. All right. So I
Okay.
think you should be able to see that. All right, so that's the platinum plan.
Platinum
So
plan.
that's what we have here. Opportunity by achieving historic employment levels for Black Americans and developing increased access to capital for new business. President Trump has been committed to ensuring all Black Americans. Okay, security. Okay, criminal justice reform, prosperity. That's about education, housing, university, and generation of Americans. And fairness as demonstrated. I mean, I'm cool with what these talking points are, but that prosperity part where they want to fund education, I'm all for funding HBCUs, but problem isn't the education. There are plenty of educated Black Americans. The issue is that these people become educated and they can't get employed.
Yeah, because you could be in school, but then you could be losing out on money. I mean, it has to be some form of foundation before we start to go into these institutions that supposed to improve us.
Okay, he says 3 million new jobs for the Black community. Now, does he mean 3 million? And first of all, that's not a lot, but
It's not.
it's talking about like my issue with this whole new job thing or job number is if you don't like it's only mandatory for an employer to pay for your health insurance if
Mhm.
you work 44 hours. So what a lot of companies did after that law or that policy passed, they reduced everybody's hours to be technically not full time.
Mhm.
So if these are 3 million new jobs, is he talking about jobs that are like 5 hours a week or jobs that are 20 hours a week or jobs that are 40 hours a week? You know, because that's
We
really a problem in the Black community.
we need we need about 24, 21 million industries that we're running and that we're employed by at the same time. We don't need jobs. That's a low amount of jobs.
Yeah, and I mean, he says create 500,000 new Black-owned businesses. And I mean, these businesses, if can hire people. I mean,
the
they hire 3 people each,
the
but
the job could simply be, hey, opening up stores, build the stores, getting paid, paying us to build these infrastructures, being paid to deliver our children.
mhm.
Shit, pay us to have children. Pay us to take care of families. Pay us to grow food. These are these. If I'm not wrong, this is what a government does for its people to better the nation. You have to take what we need that makes us survive, and we need to be profiting off our own survival. If you have a job, but then you're not, how you say, you could have a job, right? Even you could have a high paying job, but if you're not happy, and there's no purpose, how do you think a job is going to, how do you think a job is going to
Benefit
Kanye West
or
pause?
change that person's life.
how do you think a job's gonna change the situation? It has to be more than a job. It has to be a job with a purpose
Hmm.
to improve things and to build industries that then could translate into us running ourselves, almost like cooperatives. You would you wouldn't work 4, 5, 7 days a week. You will work one day. Everyone works a day. Everyone takes turns. You're able to then grab the fruit or the profits from your labor and then use that money and say, hey, I want to either rent this place or I want to own this co-op or
Yeah,
I want to
I
own
think
this
people, I
condo
think
or I want
people
to,
already, in a sense,
you know,
do that. I think people can start collaborations and all of that. And I think people are doing that, but I mean, I just want people, if they choose to work or if they want a job, I just think they should be at least paid fair. Like,
yeah.
they should be paid at least to live,
When China when China sees a problem and sees an industry that they have to be high demand in, they would build a factory. They would move all these people in from the country, and then they would set up schools for them. They would set up counseling for their families, and they would make sure that these people are happy and they're getting married, and they would pretty much set up life that evolves around bettering the economy, adding to the GDP, um, and making the people lives happy. If the people are happy doing their work and they're gaining the fruits of their labor and they're being fruitful, then they could be happy and do the work, and they could even have shares within the companies that they're working in. Now, look, I've been a barista for like 10 years. I would
hmm
have no problem working in the coffee industry if I could have shares within that coffee industry and I could live where I'm working at.
yeah,
Um, that's just not what it is. I can't live where I work at, and I'm serving people as if I'm almost under them. I'm their slave. I can't invite them to my house because I live too far, but they could bring me upstairs, and they could also kick me out because, like, look, it's time for you to go home now, and you got to wake up to serve us some coffee, boy. This is almost a reality of America.
hmm
We have to make it make sense, because other than that, it just looks like you're trying to disrupt the black race so then your white race could keep its identity. When, if we're a nation, we're supposed to collaborate and we're supposed to intermarry and we're supposed to be true Americans and what we thought this country stood for since the Civil War, since World War I, since World War II, since the Vietnam War, and now so forth. That's just not the case. We shouldn't be funding a Nicaraguan war using coke from Colombia being sold in our neighborhoods only to fund a Nicaraguan war to then get a nationalist Nicaraguan citizen out of office. That's just the evil in that is just ridiculous. And these are things that have happened throughout history, and these are claims for reparations because our own government participated in it.
yeah. So I saw you mention, I heard you mention Ice Cube earlier. I'm
Yes.
gonna stop sharing. So that was Biden's like there that I just unshared. But earlier you brought up Ice Cube, and he was on quite a bit of fire recently about his platinum plan. And some critiques that I heard from the bit that I did see, people were saying, okay, well, he is a celebrity as a musician and as a businessman, but mainly as a musician, specifically a rapper and hip hop artist and actor. Why should he be allowed to speak versus him using his reach to put together a coalition of professionals who are in politics and have worked in politics to deliver and speak on this plan, with him sort of just being, I guess, associated with her in the back versus being in front of it like this and speaking so publicly? What do you think about that? And I think the point they're trying to make is this: why is it that Black celebrities like to be in the forefront when it comes to policy? And usually musicians, actors, our celebrity class, our entertainment class versus our political class, our intellectual class. Oh, hold on, I gotta take you off mute. Say that again.
Versus like a Umar Johnson or Tariq Nasheed, or let me name some less controversial people. This is like the Hotep Awards. Versus the Adidas Amir.
No, even more than that. I think they were thinking like a lot of the contributors or people who like live, breathe in politics. Because I mean, even with Umar, I don't want to hear Umar Johnson's opinion on economics. I mean, I would kind of listen to him on some educational things, but even with that, um, he's a psychologist, so most things that he says are a lot of controversial points. There are other credentialed psychologists who also oppose, what he says, or even who else did you mention? You mentioned Dinus. Dinus, Dinus is his thing is not really politics. You know what I mean? Even like Dinus barely even touches hard African policy. So I think what they're saying, the critique is more about get these people who live, breathe, and eat this, who can deliver it, I guess. But I mean, I'm not my thoughts on it. I think anybody should be able to speak. I think that's the sort of the beauty of a democracy. But I think if a person chooses to speak, I think everyone should be modest enough to be willing to change an opinion if new information is presented and it's better information. So I don't have a problem with any celebrity stepping forward.
I would add Robert Smith.
Uh-huh.
He's a Black billionaire, and I believe that he's in the tech industry. I would also add Dr. Claude Anderson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dr. Claude Anderson for sure.
And maybe we could bring an economist on.
But Dr. Claude Anderson is an economist, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure completely of his background, but he did come out with Power Economics. So I would think he's an economist.
Uh-huh.
And he also worked with the government as well. So I would say Dr. Claude Anderson would be perfect. It's sad that I don't know enough Black people who aren't entertainers.
But that's sad. Another. I think it's weird. Like our history in the United States, entertainment in many ways sort of saved us under what with the visibility and scrutiny that existed for so long. So I think that's one reason that we push our entertainers in that spot where it's easy to do that. But I mean, even Dr. Boyce Watkins, I think
Boyce Watkins seem perfect.
Boyce Watkins has some like that, but that's for the economic aspect. I think these people are.
Boyce Watkins is a great guy.
Hey, how you doing?
Can I name any women?
You say, am I naming any women? Let me see some white. I mean, not white.
Any women?
Economists.
Women?
Who?
Sister. She comes from the civil rights movement. She was a lawyer for Eldridge. She was a lawyer for a couple of Black political parties. One of which Eldridge Cleaver, Sutton Jackson from the Black Guerrilla movement.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get her name. I can't. She's a lawyer with an afro, light skin.
Oh, Angela Davis,
Angela Davis.
the Black Panther. She went to jail.
She was an attorney.
I don't know if Angela Davis is an attorney. I don't know.
No, I think she put together a team to represent. She put together a team to represent people who are political prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
But I would definitely put her in there. Angela Davis. Wow.
Yeah, something like that.
The entire Black Caucus.
But what I thought was interesting about the criticism or the critiques of Ice Cube is that he mentioned that he sent this plan out, this platinum plan. I don't know if he created the platinum plan that we see on Trump's website. I don't know, or if it's just something else. Whatever he initially had, he said that he sent it to both parties, or he sent it to I think all the candidates as they were running, and so the Trump administration is the only political body that responded. So I thought that was really, really interesting. But I didn't really understand the critiques of people saying, okay, well, he's like, I understand the critique of, okay, if everyone, like you said, we just had a hard time mentioning people who would be great for this that weren't in entertainment or entertainment adjacent, So I do understand the criticism that maybe our celebrities have too many hands in different pots or whatever versus our academics or intellectuals or experts having their hands in the pots or being just as visible as our musicians are or our actors, our entertainment celebrities. So I mean, I understand that critique and I agree with that as far as the amount of visibility experts need to do. But here's the thing, I think it's a marketing issue. Like, I started this site so that I could give my expertise as far as supply chain is concerned and talk about some of these political and social issues also from a supply chain perspective. So I think it's about us as regular people and us as experts, whatever your expertise may be, putting it out there and creating content to give people, to basically give you the same following that a celebrity would have, right? Because here's the thing, what we usually do in like private business, the fastest way to get something sold is to like partner with the celebrity and get the celebrity attached to it, because of the reach that they have. So I don't know if Ice Cube in a perfect world, it's very possible that Ice Cube would have still been at the table because of the platform he has, right? And if he's interested in this thing, because I mean, you got a ton of rich people who are celebrities or these entertainment class people who are rich, who don't care about politics. So the fact that he has the desire to be there is already half the battle in my mind. But in a perfect world, he could have very well been in the same situation where he was the catalyst, so we were using his platform to bounce this thing off of to get it to go. But I think it was foolish of him not to surround himself with other experts. But I mean, I don't think it's nothing. I'm not criticizing him as far as, oh, I think it was stupid or, he shouldn't have done that. Whereas some people are like, he should have stayed at home and he should have kept his mouth closed. I don't feel like that.
I feel like one thing about these entertainers, like say like a Diddy, Spike Lee, or a Ice Cube, they own their content. They gain residuals. They could put out the political stuff through entertainment and film. They have the freedom to put out this stuff because they have their own money, and their money is not tied to white institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing we could say versus these judges versus these lawyers. Now, we haven't had a Johnny Cochran. We haven't had a Colin Powell. We haven't had a we haven't had these types of political leaders, these politicians who we didn't have these we don't have these politicians who aren't working on the sides of
Corporate interest.
corporate, yes,
Uh-huh.
corporate
Yeah.
interests.
Yes,
We
Right.
haven't
yes.
had that in a while. Versus like Colin Powell was more so taking down these corporate interests. He took down the mob. You know, he was changing the labor unions, and he was putting what he was the bills that he would help pass is just to get black people a seat at the table. These are things he was doing. Now that we have a seat at the table, we have to take orders from other people at the seat at the table because we could just get outvoted, and then
Yeah.
we just have no choice. Whereas these entertainers, they create their own table. So I believe this is
But
why.
wait. But I want to talk about that. But isn't that the critique though? It's like if you look at black celebrity in entertainment, a lot of times the critique is black art is only celebrated if it looks a certain way, right? Like let's not act like Ice Cube got famous from singing spirituals or something like that. You know what I mean? So I think that's the criticism. It's like, okay, well, why is it that is the gangbangers, the drug dealers, the booty shakers, the people who maybe do lewd movies and things like that. Why is it that these people are usually picked out and also elevated to the point where they become celebrities, but also outside of being elevated, they're given a platform. We sort of give them a platform to speak on social things. Um, so what would you say about that? I mean, he may own his own content and he may have his own memes, right? But the way he got those memes are still from, in a sense, something that's not necessarily looked at as a positive way to make money, right? It's not like he got famous from feeding the children or something, you know?
These entertainers, in order to keep their wealth, in order to keep on putting out the work they have to put on, they have to make the people happy.
Mhm.
As soon as they stop making the people happy, well, their money gets attacked,
Yeah.
and then poof, there goes their platforms. So there's all types of leverages that's going against them too. I believe Ice Cube is just really going out on a limb and saying, "Look, hey, I don't care if you guys watch my movies anymore or listen to my music. I'm gonna do these things whether you like me or not."
Yeah.
And why though? It's just because well, this is America. Rock and roll was created in America and went throughout the whole entire world. And when people think about America, they think about rock music. They think about black entertainment, and that spreads internationally.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, it's unfortunate that we don't have the people in government to represent us. For example, take a Robert Mugabe, take a Magufuli, president of Tanzania,
Hmm.
take a Malema of the DNC. Oh, he's a in a political party in South Africa.
Hmm.
Um, take these people in the UN. I'm not about to butcher her name, but we're we're seeing more political black empowerment coming from the Caribbean, coming from Africa, than
Hmm.
in Black America,
Hmm.
and you could just tell how far we have gone.
Yeah.
That we only could pull out our entertainers, and our entertainers have more prominence over, say, the guy. He's in the Trump administration. He's a doctor, Dr. Carlson.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
He would be the perfect person to come out and say, "Hey, what the fuck, Trump?" He would
Right.
be the perfect person to say, "Look, we need to change this and this needs to change, and we need to pass these bills." Did he get fired?
I think he
Where
did
is
get like
he?
demoted or fired or something. I think he still
He's
works. Let me see. Let's
he's
see what being
in the
positive
Trump
is.
administration, and just he has nothing to say. Why isn't Trump pulling him out? What is this guy doing? Coke or something? He's a brain surgeon.
Yeah, he's the Secretary of Housing. But I didn't know if he was still the Secretary of Housing.
Where's Carlson at? Where is he at? He's the type of person that we need to step up, and he's just not vocal. So you have a brother who are in tune with most black people who have to come out like I unfortunately like Ice Cube, and it just the Biden, they released a campaign ad, and they had these two rappers come out. One of them is from my neighborhood,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and then they expressed what bill they would come out through rap.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on? You would think that there's more black people in this country than white people. For them to do that,
Yeah.
for them to just take what we like and what we could do, it's just amazing. The Biden, they took Cardi B and they took these battle rappers to push their campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, we gotta do better. We could we could do better. Sorry to be rude, not to cut you off. I want to introduce Lala Williams.
All right.
He owns his own venture capital fund.
Nice. Okay. Lalo. Lalo.
Lala, introduce yourself, Lala.
Yeah. Hello, world. Hello, Isaiah.
Hey, how you
Ronald
doing?
Williams. Currently the managing partner of Akugo. It's a venture capital fund. We also do other things as well, like technology.
Uh-huh.
Create games. We also, have like a little capital fund that we do and all that. I'm currently working on a Nigerian history podcast, so I guess that's kind of like the connection
Okay.
with
Okay.
Kofi with all this kind of piece. Yeah.
That's what's up. Well, you got to
Yeah.
definitely come on more often. Are you a musician as well?
Well, I mean, I'm not a musician, but I love music. I do DJ on the side.
Okay.
A huge part of my family, they're actually, musicians as well. So, yeah, I have that background. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. So, what do you think about this whole Ice Cube situation and the platinum plan? Now, like I said earlier, my personal position is, I mean, I think anyone should be able to present policy. Me personally, I'm more concerned about what's in the policy rather than who's it coming from. You know what I mean? Because not all intellectuals I'm gonna agree with, and just because a person is not.
Yeah, better.
Also, you couldn't hear me when I put you on mute, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't hear you. Like it sounded like you almost like made your voice go lower as well.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, so I'm more concerned about what's actually in the policy. I don't care if it's coming from an expert because an expert can have something I don't agree with necessarily. And sometimes it's harder to argue with an expert because I mean, if you have people who accept everything that a person says just because they're an expert, that could get us in trouble. So
Mm-hmm.
I think just because Ice Cube isn't a classical expert in like politics or economics, it's not that
Yeah.
that doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
I think most
Mm-hmm.
people were a bit upset because he connected with Trump. But I mean, Donald Trump is the president now. I think we should be making proposals to every side. But what do you think about it?
1 second. Kofi, what are you doing?
I'm just
So basically, I saw the Ice Cube video, right? And the first thing I thought was, whoa, because he seemed so upset. Like you could tell from like his expression and
Yeah,
everything, like he was serious, like he really like meant business and all that. So I mean, but I also like the image it portrays because you wouldn't expect to see someone like Ice Cube, someone who's dressed up like Ice Cube, coming on CNN to talk about that.
yeah,
He could be on CNN talking about something else, but he was on CNN talking about actual issues and actually standing up for his people. So it also goes into the hip hop culture because most times if you're not really that into it, like the music and the culture and all that, you won't really know that there's actually a section that actually is speaking up for the people through poetry, right?
yeah,
And like that's really like when they say NWA niggas with attitude, there's a reason why like they act that way. So like he comes up with that attitude and all that, but he's really speaking up for something that's real, like serious. I'm just like, yo, That shit's crazy. That shit's dope. I actually sent that shit to my brothers, but I was like, man, America is crazy, man. You see something?
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I didn't watch the video. Which one did you watch? Did you watch the original video or did you watch the
No,
interview
I
with
watched the
Roland
one with
Martin?
what's his name? Chris.
Roland,
What's his name? Chris what?
Roland Martin?
No, the one on CNN. Chris something.
Oh, Chris Cuomo.
Yeah, Chris Como. Yeah, Chris Como. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I have to
that was
check
the one I
that.
saw.
I didn't see it. And I
Yeah,
only saw
So yeah, so if you see that one, you see where I'm coming from, because you don't expect someone to come on Chris Como show, like Ice Cube looking like that and like just like spitting out exactly what it's. So Chris Como was like, I don't agree with you right now, but like he still just went on to just say exactly what, and he also showed the beauty of being able to disagree on a subject
yeah.
and still talk about it. You see something like that's another thing I like. Like Chris Como was all like ask Casey and all that. He said how he felt. Ice Cube said how he felt. And then everybody, we come from different sides and see how we could debate and meet up, in the right direction.
I agree. I agree 100%. Now, what about? I'll get your perspective on it. I asked Kofi earlier, but
Yeah.
did you see the news about the governor of Michigan, like almost getting kidnapped?
Yes.
Like,
That
didn't
made
they
me
trip
laugh
you
so
out?
much.
I was
Cause
like, what is going on?
yeah, that made me laugh so much because basically I'm originally from Nigeria. That's where I grew up. And you hear about stories like that. So when I saw that happen in America, I'm like, oh my god, are you guys here too? This thing they're back there in America too. It's just like it happens everywhere, right? It's just like I couldn't believe what I saw.
I
I'm
couldn't
like,
believe it either.
one motherfucker had the balls to go and try to kidnap the governor of Michigan. Like you must have lost your fucking mind, yo.
I know it was crazy. And I was telling Kofi, I can't imagine if they had been like
Like,
successful, the amount of bullshit that would have
yeah.
popped off. But I told Kofi, I think the silver lining in that is because they were like white domestic terrorists. I think that freaked out a lot of people in the government to be like, oh damn, these people will fucking kidnap us. They'll try to
They
kill
do
us.
it. They do it all the time
In Nigeria.
in Africa. They do this
Yeah,
all the time.
it's a note in Nigeria to get kidnapped.
Yeah.
But I better be careful. You have to keep shine your eye. If you're gonna. So like when I saw that in Michigan, I'm just like, you people have come here too. Oh my god.
Look, these are the black ops.
Yeah.
These are the black ops that are used by certain corporate entities to then do their war crimes in the Middle East. And don't think that they're not over here. These are the same people, and the reason why they got caught because they just lack some intelligence, because there's actually an intelligence team behind their black ops. The fact that they try to do it by themselves, they're being surveillance, and it's like treason for our government to let them do that. That's why they have to come down on that ass. But don't think that next time they wouldn't be successful.
I mean, I don't think they would be. I think they'll probably like double up on security.
They would.
Yeah, I don't think they would to successfully kidnap the governor.
It's not hard to it's not hard for rogue people to do these things. Nothing's new under the sun.
I know. Well, I hope it gets harder from here on out.
Yeah, definitely.
Damn it, that is crazy stuff. That is crazy stuff. But I agree with you, Lalo. I felt the same way. I was like, this is interesting to be happening, in the United States. Yeah. I was like, this shit, the world is completely fucking backwards now. But the fact that it's like, it took some white men trying to kidnap a white lady for people to kind of be like, oh shit, maybe these domestic terrorists are a threat. Like, when they were just killing black people, it was cool, or it was a problem. But now that they're trying to kidnap white women,
like now they're taking it to like a whole other.
Right,
nobody's safe. It ain't just black people.
Right. Exactly.
Her name is Gretchen Whitman.
Yes, Gretchen Whitman. Yeah, I saw that. That was a trip. But so I want to plug a product I'm working on. So I do like physical commodities. That's like the type of business that I do. So I usually work with like manufacturers wherever. I mean, it can be here or a lot of my vendors and manufacturers and things in China. But I'm wanting to get into the athletic product space, and so I'm looking to basically purchase like some workout gloves. I'm gonna sell them online.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that I can at least break even, but it'll be my first time doing this particular product. So everybody stay tuned, and if you're interested, anybody watching this, if you're interested in getting in on this particular venture, email us at ultrasupplychain.com, and I'll send you all of the costs and the like expected profit margins and minimum purchase orders and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just let me know,
So what are you
and
trying to do? Manufacture gloves and like sell it online or what?
yeah, I'm gonna do workout gloves, but I'm gonna do workout gloves in one of those. I don't know if you've seen them, but the arm blasters. It's like an item that you wear around the neck
Mm-hmm.
that has a piece right here, and it helps you control like the contraction of the bicep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Okay.
and they're not too expensive, but I'm thinking I'm
So
gonna.
what's unique about your product? Is it just one of the ones out there, or
Oh, you mean am I gonna import something that's already made, or am I gonna make
no?
something new?
Like what is unique about your product?
You say what's the look?
What's unique about it?
Nothing. Nothing's unique about it. This is literally just
So
a
literally, you're just going to the market with things that are already selling, and you're just gonna jump on the wave and just sell as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think the only differentiating thing that would be, I mean, it would be marketed as like a black business or like a minority owned business.
Okay, so that's
Um,
like that's like the niche. Okay.
yeah, and I mean, the branding will all go together. And they have like some African artwork and whatnot. But
Oh yeah.
but as far as functionality, there won't be any differences. I mean, the glove is the type of glove where it's only like the palm. All of this is sort of out. So I mean, I've been seeing more of those on the market. I mean, that's a little different compared to the other type of gloves that are currently in the market. But as far
Mm-hmm.
as functionality, I'm not willing to invest enough to create some type of revolutionary product. But I think I can get in and capture some of the market by just offering a black-owned product. But I'm also, if it works here, these two pieces together as one brand, if it works here, then I'll probably also begin to sell it in West Africa.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like another thing, do you have like the unique African designs on it?
I do. I
Like,
will.
yeah, you do. Yeah, so that's something that would be really unique about it. If you
Yeah.
could even like one of like because a lot of like this gym sharks, gym heads,
Hmm.
the African ones especially, if they
Yeah.
could model it for you, that would be pretty dope because like they'll probably like it and put it up on their IG pages, and you could probably get a lot of sales from that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I haven't finished it yet. The gloves, I mean, I'm not adding anything special to the gloves, but the arm blaster that I was telling you about,
Yeah.
now that would have like a design. But I'm just starting with the glove. We'll see. We'll see. But I agree with you. I prefer to have something that is different. But right now, the only differentiator for that type of glove is the color. So I mean,
Yeah, definitely. I said, yeah, let's connect. I do run a venture capital, Akugo. So
okay.
I do this kind of stuff. This is basically my day-to-day life. Working with people like yourself that's, launching a business or already launched a business, looking for either like funding or like strategy, marketing, technology. So, yeah, we could definitely, pick each other's brains and like see if we could, work on something together for sure.
Let's do it. Definitely. I'm sure there are quite a few things we can work on together. So let me put your email information in the chat too.
All right.
So if you
So
see
it's
that
Laulu,
line,
how my name is spelled,
yeah.
at akugo.com. So Akugo is
Mhm.
AKWUGU.com.
Okay. So that's LAOLU at AKUUG.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let me check and see if it actually went through. Okay, so it's in the chat. So you guys definitely check it out. Yeah, I would love to. Let's set up a few meetings and I can show you some things that I'm already working on and you can show me things that you're working on.
Yeah, yeah. Dope, dope.
For
then
sure.
yeah. You can also see my website at kugo.com.
Okay.
You can see some of the companies we work on. Check us out on LinkedIn as well. Kugo, yeah, that's our LinkedIn page. So yeah, we got some great stuff coming out. Great stuff coming out. We're working on.
Good. What are you guys working on? Give us like a little bit of something without telling us too much.
Well, I mean, one I'll just say we got Afro Fighters is a game. It's currently on the App Store, so you just basically it's a fighting game that's really going to be primarily representing a lot of the African mythology
Yeah,
gods, like
that's
like
what's
back in the
up.
day.
Look,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
definitely need to connect.
Yeah. It's currently on the Play Store. I'm working on getting on the Apple Store, and we're gonna get on
Uh,
Xbox and UPS, station
okay,
and
yeah,
all that. Yeah.
yeah. I actually want to, and I mean, this could be something maybe we could work on together.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start like a gaming company.
Okay.
And I'll tell you more about it, but it's really dope as far as how I want it to work. But I don't necessarily want to say it on here. But
Yeah.
we should do some stuff.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I got you.
I just
I love
dropped.
working on stuff.
Sorry, I just dropped the animation on Couples Productions YouTube channel and my IG, Couples Productions. Check it out. I love animation and I love video games.
Right.
So I would
Yeah.
love
Yes,
to
definitely
discuss
follow
this further.
Couple Productions. You gotta support. And yeah, do you sell any services in your area in New York?
When you say services, what do you mean?
As far as couples production, like are you
Oh,
selling
couples.
How about so the only thing
no, not sold. I mean, are you selling any like are you doing photography or video or
I've gigged, around, and I worked with this popular Russian artist,
Mhm.
and I just worked with like local artists, and they'll like pay me under the table.
Yeah.
But what I want to do with my work is pitch it. Okay.
Peace.
See,
I would like to pitch it. Okay, I'm done. Yeah. I would like to pitch it to some producers and some execs here in New York City or on the African continent and see who bites. This game is very random at times, but if you just put yourself out there, someone will like your material and will want to work with you.
Right. Yeah, and it's definitely a great skill to have. So you guys definitely check out Couples Productions. I mean, it's on IG, but can they also follow you on Twitter?
Yes, they could also follow me on Twitter. I'm at Kofi Newt. You also could look up Couples Productions, and I should come up as well.
Okay. All right, cool.
And
So yeah,
can Sean drop a tag real quick?
of course.
Yeah, and I also so I'm a rapper, singer, songwriter. I do offer like services as far as like whatever people are looking for. Like if you need music for like whether it be like maybe you have like a movie or independent film you're putting out, you need some backing tracks, or if you need a verse, a hook, like I have those. I definitely provide that. And I have my own studio in my crib, so
Mhm.
it's nothing to like get it done and then send it back to you at a good time. Yeah, you can be on my and I also I'm getting into like visuals, like shooting like videos and stuff. So yeah, and all that could be you can see some of the work or what I do on Instagram at Sean X Elliott, the way my name is spelled, but just with an X in the middle.
Okay.
And that's also my email, Sean the way it's spelled, X Elliott at iCloud.
And the first Sean X Elliott, that's you on Twitter.
Is it a little? Is it like a blue background with a cartoon character?
No. I mean just the spelling. You said at Sean Elliott is Twitter or Instagram or both.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the same everywhere.
Okay.
hmm
Let me write that. And is the X capitalized or lowercase?
Everything is lowercase.
All right. So yeah. So Kofi,
Yes.
let me see what else I have on the list. I think that's pretty much it. So what about you? Did you have any things you wanted to discuss? Or how about
Um,
you, Sean? Anything on your mind?
What was that? I'm sorry.
I say anything on your mind or anything you want to discuss?
Wow, like usually I do like usually I feel like I have a lot to add to a conversation, but I feel like this one was just
It was boring.
no. It was more in like it was more enriching just to take it in,
Yeah,
just to absorb a subject, you know.
I feel you. I know exactly what you mean.
I wanted to talk about this something that I feel is happening in the Black community between men and women. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
uh, we we love each other. We we want each other. We see each other as we are attracted to each other. But with all that comes with love comes hate,
Hmm.
and we kind of need to take a step back and look at ourselves from the outside. And I believe we need to be able to work with each other without trying to, for lack of a better words, fuck each other.
Hmm.
And it as many intimate relationships we get into, whether it's on a job, whether it's through partnership, or whether it's just being in close proximity. Oh, please, someone
Proximity.
Yeah.
proximities to each other.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No. That was we all have
public
words
school
like that.
education. I'm sorry.
It's so funny.
Um, I'm noticing that this is becoming very detrimental to our growth.
Hmm.
We're breaking up with each other, and we're carrying this vitriol for each other that makes us want to run outside of our circles. And if this happens enough, then what you will start to get is us going on television, in national television, and undermining each other.
Hmm.
And this is something that other societies use to then take power away from us. And how they do that is they either attack the males through putting us in prison, through making us the face of violence, through having financing single parented homes, or they just bring black women onto the table and we have nothing for the black men, and forcing black women to then look down on their men, and on international television say our men aren't shit. For example, like The View. Um, and I could name so many other television personalities. Pretty much they're using a propaganda campaign to divide the black family.
Hmm. You said the view.
Now, just because it takes two to make a family, you have to have intercourse. You have to be a very mature person to go down that route. I believe just because you can have babies with between men and black women, doesn't mean that we get to own each other and get to treat each other in this very toxic way. We have to almost be
So you saying we need to be like polygamous. Like we need to not be so attached.
polygamy, but even more cutthroat.
I
We
know what you
need
mean.
to we need to say, like, look, if we just have so happen to have sex and have a child, that doesn't mean that we necessarily belong to each other. We have a duty to this child, and that's it. We have
Ah,
to acknowledge that, look, there's going to be other people in our lives that we will spend more time with than we did in the past. This is just nature. This is just the nature of things. We need to be able to be happy.
Yeah.
If our mates go 9,000 miles away and just get with another black man. Now, to me, I would be happy for my old mate and say, hey, look, I'm glad you found another black man. You're adding to the race, or vice versa. She
Yeah.
says, hey, look, you had to go, you had to travel, you found another woman. Just as long as you're sending money back, as long as we're sending money to each other, as long as we're able to come back to each other and build, we're still able to carry on the race and get to a bigger goal, because this is what needs to happen. This is the future. We're in the modern world, and we need to see these things happening so we could come up with a better way of living.
Yeah. I think once these videos do get popular, the women gonna eat you up in the comments.
They probably are, but it's egos. Now that women have been accepted into an equal playing field with men, and there's more. I believe there's more black women than men, and this is the reason why we have to do these things. Unless you will see a disappearance in black women
Mm-hmm.
because the harm that's being caused to both of us. Now, you would see black women left out of baby making, pregnancy, and a chance at motherhood, all because that one woman wants to control this one black man, which is almost impossible if our numbers are one man to four women. Don't you want your sister, your friend, to have children also? Wouldn't
They
you
say
want to be
no.
happy for her too? But
I think
this
they
is
would say
just
no.
what it is. Women have they have more power than they think.
Uh-huh.
They
Uh-huh.
need to be able to share it.
Yeah, I think from the women I know, I think I'm the only thing with that position. I think they would criticize like what's different. So many black women claim that they're fighting, like fatherlessness in the home and this and that. I know that perspective being put like that would frighten, I think, the average woman to say, oh, well, he just wants to get me pregnant and not have any responsibilities. But I think what you're talking about is something that goes beyond what we can currently see and what we currently accept. You know, but I think it's possible. I think what you're asking for is something beyond all of that, where the woman wholeheartedly knows that she has the ability to build as well, whether that be, building something physically on a continent or whatever, or building heating systems in place. And what you're saying is choosing to be with a man like yourself who also wants to build and have a connection, but not like the traditional marriage or the traditional relationship where, hey, you live here, I live here, wherever I go, until death do us part, basically. You know what I mean? So you're saying we need to go beyond that to where
Yes,
we're taking care of each other
yes,
and
we
we
need to.
are loving. And if a baby comes, it's your child. You should be more focused on building and well, not even
Yes,
building. I think focus on the child, but don't focus on the person who helps you create.
yes, we need to see the children that we're creating as a village, as a whole. As long as our numbers, as long as we're continuing to make children, that enhances the race and our chances of survival and our dominance over the other races of people who get to um, use us for our labor, for our culture, for our industries, for almost everything, our natural resources. If we survive, as far as I'm concerned, if we survive, we propagate, the other races survive. We
Mhm.
die, they die. We need to let go this monolithic, this what's the opposite of polygamy? It's
Monogamous.
monogamous. I just blinked. It just blinked out of my head. Monogamous. We need to get that out of our way because that's not who we are. Obviously, when they came to Africa, we were naked. Okay, that's not right to say. I don't think we were naked, but we was damn near living in Eden. We had plenty. There was a lot of us. There was a lot of children. We need to go back to some of these forms of how we're going to mate and how we're going to build civilizations. We need to almost see that men produce a lot of women.
Mm-hmm.
When men and women come together, black men and women come together, we produce a lot of women. Now, at the end of the day, the women have more numbers, meaning that they're going to be the labor force of these civilizations. They're going to be the brains, majority of the brains behind this. And the men, they're going to be the physical, logical protectors of us all. And when the men are being attacked, then the majority of the women could also step in with using their brain power and using their intelligence to then be just as powerful as a man and then go to war with us in any way. When the Russians were being invaded by the Germans, they gave women guns, and this is how they defeated the Germans. And the Soviet Union turned into the nation that you have now with Putin. They're very powerful people, and they're about that life. We black people, we need to be the same way. We need to be the same way because I've been with a couple of women, and I haven't had children with any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I know women and men right now who are in America that are alienated by each other because how we're being seen and how we're being shown on in the media. So it's like a self-hatred that's happening. Now, if this is happening in Africa right now, if this type of mentality infiltrates Africa, you will see our numbers start to drop. It's happening in Kenya right now. They went from a rate of 8.0 all down to now 3.1. Now, once they reach under 2.0, that's under replacement rate.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be disastrous for humanity, not only black people, but humanity.
And you said that's in Kenya.
Yes, Kenya.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, my source is Dr. Mumbi Saraki.
Okay. Yeah, I like Dr. Mumbi. I haven't watched her in a while. Where is she?
She moved from Nairobi to Kilimanjaro. She moved up into the mountains of Kenya.
Is she still making videos?
Yeah, she's making videos.
I haven't seen any of her videos. Oh, let me see.
Her videos are kind of dark sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think I unsubscribed to her.
Like, damn, what's happening now?
I think I may have unsubscribed from her because I know when COVID first popped out, they had Dr. Mumbi like spooked.
her headlines start with WTF.
Yeah.
Yo, and you just know it's something bad.
Yeah, maybe I can't remember if I don't think I unsubscribed unless she did something crazy. But I can believe that.
She made one of my movies.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so your thing is okay, just continue to procreate and do this and do that. Now, let me ask you this: with the whole polygamous or polyamory or whatever it's called, I noticed that is also on trend here in the States. Hey, can you still hear me? Shake your head. I had to mute you. Okay, so I noticed it's on trend here in the States. I've had quite a few of my my homegirl friends or women friends, because some people are offended by the term female now, so I don't even know what to say. I hate that though. That's one thing that I hate. What you think?
I don't say female anymore. I say women, and it's like it sounds like I'm speaking Ebonics, but it seems like I'm speaking another language when I can't use female. But I tend to leave out female.
That's one of those things I think was an oversight. Like, you know how I think people complain about something that is like not something to complain about. I think
Yeah.
that female thing is one of those things. But anyway, yeah, anyway, so I have quite a few women friends who are women, and
Hmm.
they were in relationships with another woman and the guy, and then the guy, from their perspective, now these are two women who know each other, but like not spoken to each other in years since we were maybe children, you know? But they
Hmm.
both had the same exact experience where they got into a throuple, and then they decided to just be with the woman because the man did not want to, build, I guess, according to how, what was conducive, but the two women were able to agree. So I think that's an interesting point because I think it is if what you're talking about becomes common practice amongst our people, I think if men don't change, we'll be putting women in, well, I won't say we'll be putting them in a situation, but I think women who are open to having a relationship where it's like if they're, in a relationship with men and women, I think they're gonna just choose to be with each other and raise the child, if that makes sense. So, what do you think on
Oh,
that?
wait. You said women being with each other?
Yeah, I
Like,
think if people get into these polyamorous relationships, if the woman also has an attraction to women,
mhm.
and because like I said, in these situations, both of these women basically decided to be with the other woman because the guy didn't, I guess, act the way they want him to act. But I think that's in that same vein of the control that you were talking about, or this need for women or men to feel like they own the other person. So, this guy was acting, I guess, how they want, which I mean could have been valid or not. I'm not here to make a judgment of, if it was right or wrong, whatever, but
Mhm.
something happened they didn't like, and then they decided just to be with each other. And in both of these situations as well, both of these women mentioned how now that this guy is out of the situation, the relationship is like perfect. Like they feel like invincible. They can, build whatever, and they already have the child. So once the child is there, I don't know if women will step away from that coupling, if that makes sense. I think it's getting to a point where women, if they have the option or the attraction, they will just be with another woman who is willing to have that sort of monogamous feeling. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. But I just want your thoughts on it. I'm not saying that's going to happen because I mean, there are a ton of strictly heterosexual people who possibly would also be into polyamory and, just be men and women or whatever. But in those situations where I'm finding it's more common for if a woman is interested in polyamory or, polygamy, she's also probably not 100% heterosexual, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's going to be another thing. I think as people evolve and they move to this place of, let's build first, let's build families first. I think the role of the man will possibly change, but because the role of the man will change, I don't know if that will change the desire of women who want to be in a couple. You know what I'm saying? So, what do you think on that?
Right now we're chasing facades.
Uh huh.
Um, it's obvious that the facade of the man and the masculine man, it's flawed because we're in a capitalist system, and well, money decides whether you're masculine or not, and we all know that it doesn't. Um, there's the facade that women have to get married and women have to seek out this alpha male. Well, there aren't enough alpha males for these women. No, at least not all of them. And if they think that that one guy that they're all chasing is not going to attract another woman and it's not going to be cheating, then they're just not thinking mathematically. Now we're being influenced by Hollywood and the knight in the knight in shining armor that Disney and Hollywood tends to put out for white Americans. And what we're getting now is this thing where you want to see more Black people in perfect, loving relationships. Well, that's just not the reality because the people who are making these movies and these films aren't coming from that. They're just making these films, but that's not that's not reality. Now, the reality is based in Africa. When Africans controlled their own dynasties and their own civilizations and their own kingdoms, well, the males that had the most money or the most land are males that are attached to kinship, who then are attached to the land, and they would be attached to these kinship laws that were driven by newcomers, Black people migrating into just new territories. Now they would have enough resources that would was given by the elders to then take on these mates. And of course, we don't want to have incest because that brings diseases. So whenever there's a worthy man that's a newcomer or worthy woman that's a newcomer, then they would then get with the elders next to kin, which would be a prince or a princess. And then they would mate with this newcomer male. They would mate with this newcomer female. And if no one was happy, well, then Africa was so vast that you would just move to another part of the geography and then start your own dynasty. And that's how big Africa was. You could actually avoid conflict, and just start your own shit. just go like 100 miles that way, and bam, you escape the excursion of Islam, the excursion of the Catholic Church into the Black African family. And these things were happening until they started seeing the Arabs, what the Arabs had was better than theirs, and they started seeing what the Europeans had was better than theirs. And then as soon as they wanted what they had, then that's when the Black family started to collapse, and they would even to gain these things that Europeans and Arabs had, they would sell each other. They would go to war with each other. There's even a lot of instances where Muslims would conquer other Muslim groups and sell them into slavery, just because they wanted what the Arabs wanted. And that's just not common sense. But now that we know this, we could kind of adapt to where our power lies. We have to get away from these mythical forms of procreation.
Yeah. Sean, how do you feel about all of this? Or do you have the same position?
I feel like I've been witnessing like the shift,
Yeah.
like firsthand, because it's like, especially like as an artist, it's like I'm always looking for the new things, whether it be music or like the culture, because I want to be able to relate it through the music. And I thought you brought up an interesting point when you mentioned that people who are open to polygamous relationships, and if the woman is more she's probably, if she has an attraction for the other female and there's already a kid involved, and the man is like, they don't really see eye to eye, and they just stick to the pairing. Because I'm starting to see more. I'm starting to see more relationships where there's two females and a child, and it's just.
And then they tell you the story in the same situation, right?
More or less.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really, really, really interesting.
It's like a polarization going on.
But then again, I ask, and I was going to ask you this, Kofi. And Sean, what are your thoughts on this? When I think about maybe what's the difference, I think you may have hit the nail on the head earlier when you mentioned that, women have more rights now, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So, I guess when things are more equal, women also can, in a sense, make those types of decisions compared to, previous generations of even African women. Because I mean, the African woman is said to be like the first free woman, right? Because African women were working and being educated before a lot of the other women in the world. It was normal for us to sort of, well, more or less, to see that. You have some places where it said that, African women, are oppressed or were oppressed or whatever. But with women and things being more equal, I think that's why they're able to do that. But another point I wanted to bring up about the polyamory or polygamy, I watched this lady who's a YouTuber, and she talks about, I think, hypergamy, and she also talks about polyamory or polygamy. And she says that, and I want your thought on this, Kofi and Sean as well. In that type of situation, although there are more women than men, she says when there is a polygamous system, what happens is not every man gets a wife because the women only will date and be with the richest men. So what happens is, and some people say that's the reason Western society outlaws polygamy in some African countries as well, just because single men who are not rich are least likely to get married in that type of system. Whereas because men can have more than one wife, the women just go and marry rich men. So this one man may have 10 wives if he can take care of them. But now, there are 2 or 3 men who don't have a wife as far as the numbers are concerned. So what would you say to her when she uses this logic of, okay, well, if that's the case, then women just simply will marry only rich men, and then those other men who would have had wives, if the law was, hey, you can only have one wife, those men would just not have wives, and they will still, well, I don't know if we would still be in this situation, but it will bring a new problem. What do you think about that?
Well, I see that sort of happening now, but in an interracial form. Now, I heard Lou Major made a great point when he said, well, rich black men with money are the most desired man on earth.
Uh-huh.
Standing next to a Asian man with money, standing next to a white man with money, the black man is still the most
I agree.
sought after man on earth.
Right.
Now, what's happening is even if a black man is broke, well, he's still sort of like sought after, by the non-black women,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and this disrupts mating with between white men and white women, Asian men and Asian women, even Puerto Rican, even Latino men and like Latino women. If LeBron is like the face of all men,
Yeah.
then these women are more so likely to intercept the attractive black men, whether they have money or not. And then the other men of other races, well, they just get to intercept our black women, the spoils that's left.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in African sense, put us all on the same continent, it would more so be similar, but then you would definitely see women going after one man. But I just don't see where today's women would would
Right.
would
I
stand
agree.
for
I
that.
agree. I agree. I think the point you brought up earlier with women working once again, I think that could be the silver lining for that. Is because I mean if a woman can also be like the pressure is just less. Like if women can't work or women can't make money, of course the woman is gonna want to marry well, right? Because she wants to make sure she can be taken care of, and as well as if she has a child by this man, that her child will be taken care of. So I think, like you said, with women being equal and being able to work and make money and do all of these things, I think it will lessen that. I think it will lessen that. So I think that could be the silver lining. So I agree with you 100%. For today's women, I think they could solve that problem.
I would say, like, look what's happening now. You have a lot of women with children and the fathers just not there, because look, the women are like, I'm in the type of world where if you don't want me, again, someone else is gonna want me, whether I have children or not.
Mm-hmm.
That where the power lies in women. And I believe, like, okay, then let's put up systems to where the woman can have children, the men can have children, but not necessarily have to like be locked down in these marriages. As long as they're taking care of their responsibility, which is a child, they could go off and do whatever they want. Go have other children with different people, and just live your life. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe in this sense, no one would be left out. Now, will that create any type of, will that be a disturbance in an equilibrium of Earth? I would say yes and no. It's happening already. We just have to come up with social reforms to make sure that we're not abusing each other through like bitterness. Because what I also see is you have split families and you have split homes, and it's kind of it only seems to make sense in a government where there's like some type of welfare in place. There's some type of backup system in place just in case a two family home is affected by the split of their family. Now I'm seeing all types of stuff happening in New York City where women are having children, men are having children, they're having different women.
Yeah.
They're just adapting because look, you have things like Airbnb, and you get hotels for cheap, and you have Groupon, so it's not unaffordable anymore to then have a broken family. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually a norm, and women have rights. And since men are like, look, it's not like I could get mad to the point where I could beat you, or you could get mad to the point where you could beat me. Let's just go our separate ways and let bygones be bygones, and thank God that we're able to resurrect ourselves through these children that we have on earth.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a mature people for these things to happen, and you know, if we harm each other, we could just call the cops, and the cops, we don't want problems with the police.
Mhm.
We'll just beat all of our asses.
Uh-huh.
And I see this happening in white America where they get to have these flaws within the family, but their finances are taking care of everything. Look at the Kardashians. Look at the Jenners. You know, they seem to things seem to be working in their favor, whether they're with men or not. They're having children. They're becoming billionaires, and it's sloppy, but it just seems like no one's being harmed. Just a couple of feelings are being hurt, and egos being abused. But we have to get past these things because life can be long. And
Yeah. So what about with the Kardashians? Once again, I think they're gonna get you in the comments.
I'm sorry, this
But
is the only examples I have.
yeah, right. But with the Kardashians, I mean, people are gonna be like, well, I know what came to my mind initially was like, I mean, when has ever a white woman had a black child that wasn't taken care of? Because I think that's how whiteness tends to work in a sense. But but I see what you mean. I mean, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. Well, what about you, Sean? So, are you interested in this type of relationship, or do you want like a traditional type of relationship?
um, it's interesting. Like, I I do prefer like one-on-one relationships,
Yeah, same
Uh-huh.
here.
but but
But you think it's more reality based to take this approach?
I think because I consider myself to be a flexible individual as far as like not enacting but accepting like certain new concepts.
Yeah, yeah,
So like I can adjust to like the new norm, like, oh, I might get approached this way because this is just how it is. Doesn't
yeah,
mean I have to indulge, but I can be accepting of that.
yeah,
But I don't know, like I am a bit of a I I think I would be.
Oh, this
No, that's cool.
ain't good enough.
Um, I think I've noticed like in the few relationships I've had, it's like I don't know how I feel about like being with this one person forever. I feel like there's phases.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can see
I
because
know what
that's
you mean.
you
I know
feel
what
me.
you mean. Yeah.
So
Keep
maybe
on, keep on.
maybe not all I maybe I am that way, but not at the same time dealing with everyone. But once this is over, then the next. But that's for now. I don't know how I'll be later, but for now, I don't know how I feel about long lasting relationships. And I notice women get upset with that. Oh, men don't know what they want. No, no, no. And maybe that could be another factor to why they find a woman who agrees, because too many men are like, I guess they perceive to be indecisive. That kind of situation happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, as far as me and myself, as far as long relationships, I mean, I would prefer, I think like the both of you, I prefer something that's one on one and it's all perfect and all that kind of stuff. But I share the same feelings that you have, Sean, as far as I know there's something in me that questions what happens when you get to the basically when you get out of the honeymoon phase, or I won't even say the honeymoon phase, but what happens when the relationship is sort of at its end? It can't really change anymore without a bunch of effort or whatever. And, am I limiting myself by saying, hey, or is it possible for us to love each other and stay here without being tied to each other in that way? Almost as if it's like the best way I can put it. I don't know if you have any siblings, but if you have siblings, kind of like if you start a romantic relationship with somebody, it's like you guys get close enough and the relationship changes from a romantic relationship to more of like a family thing where it's like your brother or your sister or whatever, you know what I mean? But I would hope if that's the approach I was taking and I was like, okay, and my partner was like, hey, it's fine once we begin to feel this way and we know our romantic relationship has evolved to something deeper and less sexual or whatever, can I still count on you and can you still count on me for that support, forever? You know what I'm saying? Even if you go out and, you start a new romantic relationship with someone. I mean, I like that. I think that's interesting. And I also have that thought in my head or whatever. Because I mean, one of my, I guess, relationship fears is, getting in a relationship and, being in love and then getting married and then, either that person falling out of love with me while I'm still in love with them, or me falling out of love with that person. And and it was completely natural in either situation of that's that ending coming to that relationship in that way. And what do we do after that? What do we do? That so I feel you. But people definitely get mad and feel like it's indecision.
Yeah, and I get it, because like there's so many people and everyone that you meet is at a different phase in their life, and you more or less you never catch someone when they're like spot on. Most people are like they're always in the in between space when you
Yeah,
meet
yeah.
them, you know, and however long that'll last, it could be the duration of your relationship. It could end as soon as you guys get together, but you never know. But I feel like people are always evolving, and like it's rare that someone evolves at the same pace as you, and like
Yeah.
you guys are like, I feel like you don't want to force anything either. If you guys are going like this, and then like this person's kind of going this way, but you're still doing that, like give it some time. You don't gotta end it there. But if it's like when you could physically
Right. I
feel it
agree.
energetically,
I agree. I agree. I agree. Because you're right.
yeah,
Usually at that point is where the fight happens.
yeah,
And then people say, "Ah, forget it, whatever." But I think if you say, "Okay, well, obviously I'm going this way, and this person is going this," let me ride with them for a bit in the relationship, and tie it up so that we know it's changed when we still are here, and then
mm-hmm.
go back in the direction I was going. I
Right.
can see that, but I don't know if people will be that dynamic to do that. But I think that would be the most effective thing here. Now, what about this? Okay, this will be my last question. Then I'm gonna let y'all go because I know Kofi like you talk too much.
I'm over here promoting.
So what do you think about this? Now, when people have the children, like in this worldview that you've created, Kofi, who takes the child? So a child is born. Like, I mean, are you deciding like where the child lives by like, the way we do it today? Or, how would you solve that issue? Okay, Kofi, you the head of the village. We got two parents. We got this man, he got three wives. His second wife, just had a baby. The baby is like 2 years old. He's like, okay, well, I want to go off and do my own thing. And he don't want to take the kid, but the wife like, I want to go off and do my own thing too. I don't want to take the kid. Like, what happens?
Love triangle times three, then we would have the older children out of these relationships then be responsible for taking care of these kids, and the elders be responsible for taking care of all these kids, and then we would implement a system to where the children, the children are bettering themselves through through these conceptions. This thing has to make sense. So meaning like, why are we even having all these? Why are we even having all these children? If do we have to even have all these children too? Like that's another thing. Like we don't necessarily have to have these children because it's
Right,
going to be a time in life where you just can't have children. You can't afford them. But let's say you are able to have children up into your 40s. In each decade, you have one child per decade, and you've been in three different relationships, and then like you met another person who did the same thing. That would be a triangle relationship times three with children. That means there's like 9 children out of three out of 6 different adults. So then I would say somehow we would have to implement within our government someone to watch over these kids. Like when people go to school, I believe the teachers watch over them for at least 18 years of their lives. If that's not enough, then we would implement after school programs. If that's not enough, we would have the kids work on projects that could watch over them. Um, be surveillance over them. There's gonna be a time where we're not gonna be able to watch over our own children. So then we would, by the time this happens, we will have artificial intelligence taking care of our kids. We would have cameras. We would have robotic arms, just in case a kid falls, or just in case a kid get in trouble, or just in case there's an accident. But we're gonna have artificial intelligence in our households to take care of these children. That's only if humans are then deciding to have this much children in these different relationships. Like if everyone deserves a child, 4 women, 1 man, each of these women have children. That 1 man is going to have 4 children. These women are going to have a child each. Another man comes in, impregnates at least 2 other women, and then another man comes in and impregnates the other 2 women, and that one man then goes and impregnates another group of 4 women, and the cycle keeps on continuing. And the only way for that to be peaceful is if they're all under this like social order of like saying like, hey, we just wanted to have children with the people that we loved every 10 years, or it could be worse, it could be every 3 years. And then pretty much we would have the labor force to then live on Mars. And that's how Star Wars began.
Okay.
I really, to be honest, I really don't know. This is my guess of how we get into other planets,
Yeah.
because the populations are gonna skyrocket if that's the case.
Well, I mean, they're talking about the space.
It's gonna be crazy. But it is a process of natural elimination, and right now I see women being eliminated, men being eliminated. If these 4 women are picking at 1 man, and this man and one guy is being left out, I feel like is going to be greater. I feel like there's going to be more women left out than men. So there's like both populations are dropping because it's this thing of there's like survival of the fittest and who wants children or who doesn't want children. Now, I definitely at least want 3 children. Now, if that one woman can have 3 of my children, I'm more likely to either adopt children or just get them from another woman, and then I could look at my first childbearer. This is so cool. Look at the first mother of my child and look her in the eye and say, "Hey, look, we got another one." It's why it starts to get chaotic. That's why there needs to be rules. I believe the Bible.
I think that term childbearer is gonna be like anything. Childbearer 001.
They're gonna be like, we knew it. He
You're
said
gonna like they're gonna
childbearer,
have like your
female.
it's like they're gonna have like a file on you. Like when you're born, oh, this male is born.
Mhm.
And like you gotta like check in with someone. Are you planning to conceive? We're gonna keep track of you. Childbearer 1, 2.
But we're already going into like artificial procreation. You already got like embryos that's outside the human body, that's outside the woman's body. It's like it's like a artificial embryo.
Yeah.
That makes babies and like makes childbirth painless. So I believe these things would start to happen too, to where you can enjoy a pleasurable relationship with your mate, but then not having to go through the pain of childbirth.
Yeah.
But then like how there has to be like a limit and cost to that too, because what about you, Jeff Bezos, and you just artificially impregnate all these embryos? I mean, all these not embryo. Is it an embryo? Not
It was
embryo.
an egg.
Eggs.
It was an egg.
Not eggs. It's the thing that the baby lives in while it's growing.
The amniotic sac.
Yeah, that.
Uh-huh.
So take a person like Jeff Bezos. Maybe he got the money to like fund this with his using his sperm and using eggs from these women that would then turn in 9 months later or a couple of months later that would turn into these embryonic sacs. And I just think that's just overpopulation. That's ridiculous just to have his child. There's women that would probably do that. It's like, yeah, I want his smarts. I want his genes. But probably not. He's not the most like.
Oh, I see what you mean. So you mean
dominant
like
looking man.
designer babies and getting to the point where like famous men could sell their sperm to women or something like that?
Yeah.
Where some really rich guy with an OnlyFans, like pay for this, and I could send you one of my embryos.
This conversation starts to get out of hand, and I'm seeing it starting to get ridiculous to the point where we have to abide by the natural laws of process of elimination. And look, each human only gets one life to live. It's not like you're going to take your children to heaven with you.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we care if we even have children or not? I just think that we just know that this is a challenge. It's optional right now. It's really a thing that's really optional. And if you do it, is it out of necessity, or is it just the fact that you just want to live out this facade of having children? Because that could be a facade too. But then children also give you purpose, taking care of something that you believe that's yours. It also gives you purpose. Mm-hmm. So in that case, children bearing is good. Too many children, just because you just want to have sex a lot and impregnate everyone, then it I would say it's bad. Because I've heard about polygamous relationships in Africa with different wives and how there's a lot of favoritism. One wife's children versus another wife's children. This man might not have enough for this wife's children. He might just have enough for the cute wife, the wife that he desires the most children. And then you get feuds, you get land disputes, get a whole lot of chaotic stuff.
Okay. So we're coming up on the last minute. This has always been great, as usual. Sean, you got to come on more. Kofi, you didn't tell me you have so many cool friends. Nah, you did. You did.
for like 12 more days, 13 more days. I can't believe how fast things are coming to an end for me as far as me going to Africa November 1st. But I'm just trying to collab with people, and I'm trying to reach out to the people that I've been admiring their work throughout the since I met them, and trying to build with them on my journey.
And what city are you going to again?
We're in Brooklyn, New York.
No. I mean, what city are you going to now?
Oh, I'm going to Accra, but where I'm building at is in the central region of Ghana, Cape Coast region.
Okay.
It's called a Sable.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll stay. All right. Good. Well, look, we got to do this more often, and then I'm super excited about your trip, and I'm sure we'll be getting a lot of wonderful footage. And it was wonderful meeting you, Sean. And if we can again, come on again before Kofi, gets to Africa. And hopefully we can keep this up even once you get there. And I thank you once again. And peace out. Do you guys have any closing remarks?
Now we'll catch you on the back end
Okay.
chat.
All right, perfect. Well, I'll talk to you guys soon, and hopefully I'll see you guys later this week or next week. And remember, guys, go to com, sign up as a member, guys, connect, and also make sure you follow Coach as well as Sean, and also Lalo, and
Lalo Williams.
and have a wonderful night. Peace out.
Peace, man.
So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, we had a pretty lively discussion. I think I always enjoy conversations with Kofi. Such a free giving spirit. He has some interesting ideas. As you see, we agree on lots of things. We have some things we disagree about, but it's always nice to speak with someone who can sort of walk you through their thoughts, if that makes sense, whether you agree or disagree. So have a good night and talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.